Chapter 700. Expensive Entry Fee 4. How expensive is it? Lu Tao could not hold back her curiosity. 10,000 purple coins per person. Feng Miao looked at everyone and spoke calmly. What? Why don't they just go and rob? Feng De couldn't help but roar when he heard that. The city guard who heard Feng Da's roar only glanced at them indifferently. However, he ignored them because they were already used to it. Anyone who entered the city for the first time would have such a reaction. They're daylight robbery. But you have no choice but to give it, unless you don't want to enter the city anymore. Feng Miao sighed lightly and explained somewhat helplessly. Miss, what should we do? Are we still entering the city? Lu Tao could not help but ask. The entrance fee was really too expensive. Ordinary people could not afford it. Come in. I want to see if this city is worth it, Long Ruoxue said with a light smile. She didn't expect the guards at the city gate to all have the cultivation of mystic sovereign. Now, she was really looking forward to this shadow city. Hopefully, it wouldn't disappoint her. But there are so many of us. The cost of entering the city is not a small sum, said Lu Tao worriedly. Boo. It was not easy for Miss to earn some money. She had to pay hundreds of thousands of yuan in one go. Just thinking about it made her heart ache. Miss, why don't you send us into the space? Cui Zhu suggested. No, if that's the case, you can only stay in the space after entering the city. You can't appear in Shadow City anymore, Feng Miao explained. Swear, every person who enters the city has an identity card. If not, the little old man only said half of what he wanted to say. However, he believed that Shuer would understand what he meant. It's all right, let's all go in together. Long Ruoxue smiled and said. Everyone came out to train and this shadow city was so mysterious. If she didn't let everyone experience it, it might be a pity. Okay. Everyone nodded and walked towards the city gate. We are going to enter the city, Long Ruoxue said indifferently when they arrived at the city gate. A total of 350,000 purple coins. The city guard looked up and spoke. 350,000? There are so many of us. Aren't we going to give a discount? Long Ruoxue asked with a smile. I'm sorry, we didn't give any discounts, the guard said with a slight frown. He couldn't help but feel nervous in his heart. He had never heard of anyone asking for discounts for entry fees. Hee, there's a first time for everything. There are so many of us here, so let's not ask for a fraction. Just charge us 300,000. Long Ruoxue smiled lightly. This, the guard hesitated. Even though there was no precedent of discounts in Shadow City, the higher-ups did not say that discounts were not allowed. However, he was just a small guard and could not make the decision. Humph. If you can't enter the city, then don't. What a disgrace. Just as the guard was hesitating, an inharmonious female voice suddenly interrupted and looked at Long Ruoxue and the others with disdain. When Long Ruoxue heard this voice, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. She thought to herself, how could I meet such a retarded daughter from a rich family everywhere I go? Whether she can enter or not, what does it have to do with anyone else? Could it be that the words easy to bully were written all over her face? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Miss, I think I heard a dog barking. Feng De dug his ears and pretended to be puzzled. Ignore dogs you don't know, Long Ruoxue said softly. Miss, I'm best at killing dogs. Should I kill her? Feng Miao suggested, her beautiful face full of ruthlessness. No need, it will dirty your hands, Long Ruoxue disagreed. Oh, that's true. Feng Miao nodded in agreement. She narrowed her eyes and sized up that reckless woman. What are you looking at, you ugly freak? Haven't you seen a beauty before? That woman felt uncomfortable all over from Feng Miao's gaze and couldn't help roaring. Feng Miao was stunned. Was the ugly freak talking about her? Fine. She admitted that she wasn't as pretty as Miss, or even as pretty as that bitch from the Phoenix clan, but she couldn't be called an ugly freak, could she? What kind of eyes did this woman have? The woman's words instantly attracted Long Ruoxue and the others' attention. They had never seen such a narcissistic woman before. Moreover, everyone was curious about her appearance, only to see that the girl not far away had a delicate and pretty appearance, an average temperament, and her strength was not very high either. Furthermore, this kind of appearance and strength girl could be said to be everywhere in the vast heaven continent. Therefore, they really did not know why this woman was so proud. After seeing this woman's appearance, Feng De and the others couldn't help but feel uneasy in their hearts. Truly, there was always someone better out there, and there was always someone better out there. Today, they finally saw a super narcissistic woman. On the other hand, the woman who was being watched by the crowd was feeling pleased with herself. She even raised her chin high, almost sticking out her tail, if she had any. "Miss, let's hurry into the city. Young Master Lan is still waiting in the city." At this moment, the guard by the woman's side reminded her in a soft voice. Alas, Miss didn't have good eyesight, and he wasn't stupid. These people looked to be filled with killing intent, and it was obvious that they weren't to be trifled with. So, he had no choice but to find an excuse to urge his Mississippi. "Why didn't you say so earlier? I can't let Brother Lon wait for too long. Let's hurry up and leave," the woman complained. Then, she ordered her subordinates to pay the entrance fee and walked into Shadow City with her head held high. However, before she left, she gave Long Ruoxue and the others a threatening look. "Miss, are you going to let her go just like that?" Feng De said, a little angrily. "What else can I do? What's there to be calculative about with this kind of self-righteous woman? Even if I kill her, they'll feel ashamed," Long Ruoxue said in extreme disdain. "Sigh, there are many women like this in the world. She can't kill every single one of them. Moreover, as her cultivation level increased, she couldn't even be interested in killing this kind of ant-like woman unless she was really courting death." "Miss, you have a point," Feng De quickly flattered. "You can pay 300,000 to enter the city?" Suddenly, the guard spoke. Chapter 701. "I want that bracelet, one." "Thank you, Big Brother Guard." Long Ruoxue thanked him and paid the entrance fee before leading everyone into the Shadow City. Shadow City was not big. It was even smaller than Windless City, the first city they had been to. Furthermore, there were not many pedestrians on the streets. However, there were many shops on both sides of the street, and all kinds of items could be said to be present. Long Ruoxue and the others originally planned to walk around the city, but in less than 2 hours, they had already walked all over the city. "Miss, Shadow City is really small." Lu Tao couldn't help but sigh. And even though the Shadow City is small, it has everything. The things sold in those shops might not even be able to be bought in some big cities. Long Ruoxue said knowingly. It seemed that their 300,000 yuan entrance fee was not for nothing. At least, she was very satisfied with the things sold in this city. "Haha, lass, this Shadow City is known as only you can't think of it. There's nothing you can't buy. Besides, there are many things here that can't be seen in public," the little old man said in a low voice. "Cannot be seen in public? Thieves?" Long Ruoxue was shocked. Could this be the legendary black market? Yes, the little old man nodded. "Who is the owner of the Shadow City?" Long Ruoxue asked curiously. This person was really smart. However, he was probably not weak. Otherwise, he would not dare to sell stolen goods. After all, the profits from such a transaction were huge. However, it was easy to offend the big families. Therefore, if the owner of the Shadow City did not have a certain power, he would not dare to open a black market that specialized in collecting stolen goods. "I don't know. Shadow City has already stood towering in the boundless heaven continent for thousands of years. No one knows who Master is." The little old man shook his head and said, "Oh." Long Ruoxue did not expect the owner of Shadow City to be so mysterious. Schwer, although no one has seen the owner of this Shadow City before, even the 3 superfamilies would treat the people of Shadow League with respect. Empty smiled and explained. "Shadow League?" Long Ruoxue's face was full of question marks. This sounded like an organization? Schwer, the Shadow League is the manager of the Shadow City. The Shadow League was established by the owner of the Shadow City. If you want to sell some shady things, you just have to find a shop. Furthermore, all the shops here belong to the Shadow League. Therefore, no one knows that you sold those things. After all, the reputation of the Shadow League is still guaranteed. the little old man reminded. I really have some things that can't be seen in the light, Lung Ruashue said rather awkwardly. Thinking back to when she first came to the vast heaven continent, she also robbed quite a bit of others. Then let's find a random shop and sell the items, the little old man suggested. And Lung Ruashue nodded, then led everyone into the nearest shop. This was a pharmacy. At this moment, there was only one attendant in the shop. When he saw the group of people, he hurriedly went forward to greet them. Hello, guests. May I know what medicinal ingredients you would like to purchase? We have the most complete set of medicinal ingredients here. The waiter had a face full of smiles as he spoke in an extremely polite manner. He did not neglect Lung Ruashue and the others because they were wearing ordinary clothes. What medicinal herbs do you have here? Lung Ruashue asked with a light smile. Sigh. This shadow city is really full of talents. The guards guarding the city and the attendants of the shops are all mystic emperors. How could the various clans endure this? I don't dare to say that the medicinal herbs in our store can satisfy Miss needs 100%, but I can guarantee that the medicinal herbs that Miss wants can be bought with me at least 90%, the waiter said confidently. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Oh, Grandpa do. What other herbs do you need? Lung Ruashue turned to the little old man and asked. Schwer, let's take whatever medicinal herbs he has. The little old man thought for a moment and said, there were a total of 4 alchemists among them, and the demand for medicinal herbs was quite large, especially ordinary medicinal herbs. Therefore, if they could buy more, they naturally had to buy more. All right, pack all the medicinal herbs here for me. After Lung Ruashue heard the little old man's words, she turned to the waiter and said, Miss, the herbs in our shop will be slightly more expensive than those outside. If you take all of them, you will need a lot of money. The waiter kindly reminded her. He had been managing the shop for so long, but he had never met such a generous customer. Although there were many people from various large families who came here to buy herbs. It doesn't matter, as long as it's worth it, Lung Ruashue said calmly. If it was in another city, she wouldn't have the intention to buy so many herbs at once. However, she didn't have so many worries here. After all, Shadow City was different from other cities. Don't worry, Miss will definitely not regret it. Everyone, please follow me. The waiter guaranteed before bringing Lung Ruashue and the others to the storeroom. The storeroom was located in the backyard of the medicine shop. It was a very inconspicuous small room. Other than an iron cabinet, there was nothing else inside. Miss, all the herbs in our store are here. Take a look first. If there are no problems, as long as you pay, these herbs will be yours. The waiter took out a few storage rings from the cabinet and handed one of them to Lung Ruashue for inspection. Lung Ruashue took the ring and sent her divine sense into it. After that, she nodded in satisfaction and said, Not bad. I want it all. Here are some relatively expensive herbs. Naturally, the price is higher too. The waiter handed over another ring. Lung Ruashue took the ring and confirmed it before handing it to the little old man. After the little old man looked at it, he nodded in satisfaction. How much do these herbs cost? Lung Ruashue asked. 1. 58 billion purple coins, but 5 billion will do? The waiter laughed. Hee. Now that he had made a big deal, he was in a good mood. After all, his medicine shop hadn't opened for a long time. Boo-hoo. They'll stay in this city for a few days. If I haven't left yet, and you guys have new medicinal herbs, remember to inform me, Lung Ruashue instructed. She handed over a common silver card of the boundless heaven continent to the attendant, which happened to have 5 billion in it. Chapter 702. I want that bracelet, too. After receiving the silver card, the waiter confirmed the amount on it. Then, he handed Lung Ruashue a black card and said happily, Definitely. Miss, this is the VIP card of our Shadow League. With this card, everyone can stay in Shadow City for free and enjoy priority. Thank you. Lung Ruashue received the silver card and kept it in her bracelet. Then, she said to the waiter, I heard you guys also accept things here? Yes, but it has to be something valuable. The waiter nodded his head in doubt. He thought to himself, could it be that this lady wants to sell something? I can't believe it. Such a beautiful lady actually has something shady. How rare. Can you take a look at these things? Long Ruoxue took out a storage ring from her bracelet and handed it to the waiter. Miss, I can't make the decision on these things. Please wait for a moment. We'll go get the housekeeper. The waiter took the ring and looked at it before saying to Long Ruoxue with a troubled expression, okay. Long Ruoxue nodded and followed the waiter to the living room. After finding a seat, the waiter went to look for the housekeeper. However, after waiting for more than half an hour, the waiter still hadn't returned. Miss, could this attendant have run away? Seeing that the guard left and did not return, Fengde could not help but tease. This is someone else's territory. What's there to run about? Long Ruoxue laughed. Hee. If she wasn't wrong, the housekeeper was probably raising money. After all, the things she wanted to sell were worth a lot of money. Haha, I'm sorry for making everyone wait. Just as Long Ruoxue finished speaking, an extremely forthright voice rang out by their ears. Shortly after, a robust middle-aged man walked in with large strides. The middle-aged man had a resolute appearance. He was burly and possessed an extraordinary presence. With a single glance, one could tell that he was someone who had occupied a high position for a long time. Long Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and sized up this middle-aged man. However, she could not see his cultivation level. However, according to her guess, this person's strength should be above Xian Emperor. It's fine. Long Ruoxue and the others stood up from their seats and lightly nodded their heads. Haha. Everyone, please take a seat, the middle-aged man said enthusiastically. Yu Tian, the butler of Shadow City. The middle-aged man introduced himself. My surname is Long. Housekeeper Yu. I have some things I want to take care of. Long Ruoxue went straight to the point. Yes, I've heard about it. However, I have to be frank. The price of our items in the Shadow City is not high. Therefore, if you think it's not worth it, you can choose not to sell it to us, Yu Tian said honestly with a sincere expression. I know. But, if I don't sell it to you guys, I'm afraid that no one in the vast heaven continent would dare to buy these things either, Long Ruoxue said knowingly. Haha. Young Lady Long is right, Yu Tian said happily. He admired the straightforwardness of this stunning beauty in front of him. After all, their Shadow City's business had always adhered to the principle of mutual consent. Unless they were in a good mood and were willing to give a discount, they wouldn't accept bargaining. Then please take a look at these things first, Butler Yu. Long Ruoxue handed the ring she left outside to Yu Tian. All right. Yu Tian received the ring and sent his divine senses inside. However, even though he was mentally prepared, he was still frightened by the things inside. After all, there were quite a few things inside that were enough to make the various great clans go crazy, and those things couldn't be bought with money. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Young Lady Long, the items inside are quite valuable. Are you really willing to buy them? After Yu Tian finished looking through them, he asked with uncertainty. Of course, the things inside might be priceless to others, but to me, they are useless, Long Ruoxue said indifferently. If it wasn't for the fact that those things were useless and took up space, she wouldn't have wanted to sell them. Since young Lady Long says so, then I am relieved. Young Lady Long, I will bid 20 billion purple coins for the items inside. What do you think? Yu Tian probed. They were most afraid of the seller regretting their decision after buying the items as if they had taken advantage of them. However, Long Ruoxue's reaction had improved his impression of Long Ruoxue by quite a bit. It had also caused him to change the offer of 15 billion purple coins to 20 billion. Sure. Long Ruoxue nodded. This price was already higher than she had expected, so she had nothing to be dissatisfied with. Then let's trade. There are 20 billion in here. Please confirm it, Miss Long. After Butler Yu said that, he handed Long Ruoxue a silver card. After Long Ruoxue accepted the silver card and confirmed it, their transaction was officially over. Haha, young Lady Long, if you still have anything to sell, remember to look for me. Our Shadow League is definitely honest and priced fairly. Yu Tian put away the ring and then said to Long Ruoxue, Okay, if there's anything good, I will definitely think of Butler Yu, Lung Ruashua promised. Young Lady Lung, do you have anything else you want to buy? Our Shadow City has a ruler. Yu Tian asked very amicably. Yes, there are still some. Lung Ruashua nodded. Haha, if young Lady Long wants to buy anything else, just tell me. They'll send someone to get it so that young Lady Long doesn't have to look for it herself. Yu Tian said considerately. Then I'll have to thank Butler Yu first. Actually, I still want to buy some materials for refining weapons. Also, do you have any mystic skills for sale? Lung Ruashua asked after thinking for a while. There are definitely equipment refinement materials, but it's a combat technique. I wonder what attribute young Miss Lung wants? Yu Tian couldn't help but ask. However, he was extremely surprised in his heart. He never expected that young Miss Long would actually want to buy equipment refinement materials. Could it be that there was a tool master amongst these people? I need all sorts of earth rank and heaven rank techniques, said Lung Ruashua. Presently, she only possessed the wind attribute earth rank and heaven rank techniques that Yu Lin had given her. Besides that, she didn't have any other attribute techniques. Boo-hoo. They were almost all Mystic Monarch now, but she hadn't gathered all the techniques yet. Moreover, it wasn't that she didn't want to buy them, it was mainly because they weren't for sale. Chapter 703. I want that bracelet. 3. Miss Long. You've really asked the right person. We do indeed have earth rank and heaven rank techniques of various attributes. However, the price is very high as well, said Yu Tian very honestly. The price doesn't matter, Lung Ruashua said disapprovingly. The higher the level of a mystic technique, the fewer people would sell it. Therefore, it was not easy to buy the entire set. Haha, since that's the case, then I'll give you a discount. All the attribute techniques added together will be worth 10 billion purple coins. Yu Tian thought for a moment and said, Lass, I don't think you need to buy fire element ones, the little old man suddenly said. You don't need to buy anything with the wind and water attributes, Empty said. Yu Tian looked at the two who spoke and felt bewildered. Who were these two people? Why couldn't he sense their cultivation? Furthermore, the more he looked at the little old man, the more familiar he felt. However, he couldn't remember where he had seen him before. Housekeeper Yu, your wind, water, and fire are 3 types of earth rank and heaven rank techniques. If we don't have them, we'll buy them too, Lung Ruashua said with a light smile. Other mystic cultivators might only be able to cultivate 1 or 2 heaven rank techniques, but she didn't have such restrictions. That's good. They'll send someone to bring it over and let young Lady Long take a look first, said Yu Tian. After that, he instructed the attendant of the medicinal shop to prepare it. When the waiter went to retrieve the items, Butler Yu accompanied Lung Ruashua and the rest as they chatted leisurely. In fact, he originally wanted to find out the truth about these people in front of him. However, after chatting for nearly an hour, not only did he not manage to get anything out of them, he even explained everything to the 8 generations of his ancestors. Boo-hoo. He was so depressed. Luckily, he did not know who the owner of the Shadow League was. Otherwise, he was afraid that even his parents would have to confess everything. Just as Yu Tian was feeling extremely depressed, the waiter finally returned with 2 similarly dressed attendants behind him. Butler Yu, Miss Long. I've brought her here, the waiter hurriedly said. He stole a glance at Butler Yu's expression and could not help but feel uneasy in his heart. What's wrong with Butler Yu? Wasn't he very happy just now? Could it be that he thought that he was too slow to come back? However, this could not be blamed on him. Young Lady Long, please take a look, Yu Tian said somewhat gloomily, after which he indicated for the other 2 to bring the items over. Lung Ruashua inspected the things that the attendant passed over, and then she glanced at the combat techniques before buying everything at the price of 12 billion violet gold coins. Because the wind, fire, and water techniques that Butler Yu sent over just happened to be different from the little old man Wu He's. After a pleasant shopping session, Lung Ruashua and the others left the pharmacy. Accompanied by a waiter, they went to the largest guest shop in Shadow City, the Shadow Pavilion. After another round of shopping, Lung Ruashua and the others had been upgraded to high-class VIPs in the Shadow City. Hence, Their food and accommodations in the Shadow Pavilion were all free. In the guest room, Feng De had a bitter expression as he looked at the cheerful Long Ruoxue and couldn't help but ask, "Miss, you spent so much money. Why are you still so happy? Why else would I cry? I sold those junk for 20 billion, but I only spent 13.5 billion to buy these things. All in all, we are still unhappy, so of course I'm happy." Long Ruoxue said with a smile, "Shuer, do you think those things are trash? However, many aristocratic families view them as treasures. Oh, if the Shadow League sells them, they will be able to earn twice as much." The little old man reminded, "It doesn't matter. Since they took a certain risk, it's only right for them to earn some money." Long Ruoxue said with understanding, "Sigh, those things couldn't be exposed. Otherwise, she would have long thrown them into the auction house." "Haha, lass. You're really open-minded." The little old man nodded his head in satisfaction. He liked this last carefree character. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Grandpa do. Let's go down and eat something later. Try this restaurant's specialty dishes, Long Ruoxue said with curiosity. On the way here, the waiter had been talking about how delicious the food here was, which piqued her curiosity. "Don't wait any longer. Let's go down now. I'm already hungry," the little old man said hurriedly. "Okay." Long Ruoxue nodded. After speaking, everyone headed to the dining hall on the first floor. As soon as they entered the dining room, the waiter hurried over to welcome them. Then, he brought them to the table and went to prepare food for them. That's weird. Why didn't he ask us what we wanted to eat before leaving? Feng De, who had just sat down, asked in puzzlement. He was about to order some dishes when the waiter unexpectedly ignored him. "Anyway, we don't have to spend money. We can eat whatever we give," said Peach disapprovingly. In fact, she felt that the waiter was afraid that they would ask for too much. If the food they ordered was too good, their restaurant would be poor, so he did not dare to ask them. "Are you going to eat it even if I give you pig food?" Feng De said speechlessly. Tisk, why would such a big restaurant give customers pig food? Peach's face was full of question marks. "It's hard to say. The entrance fee is 10,000 purple coins, and all the shops in the city are black," Feng De said angrily. He was still thinking about the 10 billion purple coins that the young miss had spent. Woo, when the young miss spent it, she didn't even frown, but he felt his heart ache. If it doesn't taste good, then let's not eat it." After hearing Feng De's words, Peach was also a little scared. This Shadow City was indeed evil. Shuer, your subordinates are quite imaginative. Wu, who was not far away from Feng De, couldn't help but laugh at the conversation between the two. That's right. Long Ruoxue said awkwardly, her forehead dripping with cold sweat. Sigh. These two fellows have so much to eat and so much to talk about. How could they possibly let guests eat pig food here? After all, they were distinguished guests. Fortunately, there were no waiters in the restaurant at the moment. Otherwise, when they heard the discussion of Feng De and the others, they would definitely be angered to the point of vomiting blood. Woo! These people were high-ranking VIPs. Not to mention eating pig food, they wouldn't even dare to slight them. A moment later, the waiter brought a group of people in with dishes. Chapter 704. I want that bracelet. 4. After all the dishes were served, the waiter came to the table where Long Ruoxue and the others were seated. He respectfully bowed and said, "Miss Long, these are the signature dishes of our Shadow Pavilion. Please enjoy." After speaking, the waiter retreated to the side to avoid disturbing Long Ruoxue and the others. Long Ruoxue looked at the dishes on the table. There were a variety of dishes, and they looked quite tempting. However, she wondered what the taste was like. She held up a piece of soft and tender meat and put it into her mouth. The meat melted in her mouth and the fragrance was strong. It was quite delicious. Long Ruoxue ate a few mouthfuls of each dish on the table before putting down her chopsticks. "Shuer, are you full?" Seeing that Shuer only ate a few mouthfuls and no longer moved her chopsticks, he could not help asking with concern. Although the dishes here could not compare to their own, They were already considered pretty good in the boundless heaven continent. You guys eat. Long Ruoxue nodded, then lowered her head and looked at the little red snake on her wrist. Little Flame was jealous these 2 days. Because Xiaohua didn't need it as much as before, the little fella couldn't stand this difference and decided to wrap it around her wrist and play dead. Hee, but it was quite pretty. Brother Lon, I want that bracelet. Suddenly, a slightly familiar voice rang in Long Ruoxue and the other's ears. Long Ruoxue raised her head curiously and looked at the source of the voice. After that, she couldn't help but sigh softly. Sigh. I wonder if this is considered as enemies meeting on a narrow road. The woman who spoke was the one they met at the city gate. Moreover, the brother Lon that the woman was talking about was actually someone they were familiar with. Because that brother Lon was none other than the young master of the Lon family, Lon Lai. However, Lon Lai shouldn't be able to recognize them. She just didn't know if Lon Lai would recognize Grandpa Du. Long Ruoxue glanced at the little old man. To be honest, she didn't want to acknowledge Lon Lai, so she could only pray that Lon Lai's memory wasn't good. Minor, don't be willful. That's someone else's thing. How can you take it? Lon Lai's voice rang in Long Ruoxue's ears. Brother Lon, you dote on me the most. Help me buy it. The girl named Minor tugged at Lon Lai's arm and acted coquettishly. If I buy it for you, will you return to Blue Cloud City immediately? Lon Lai frowned slightly, the impatience on his face disappearing in a flash. Okay. Minor nodded obediently. However, she couldn't help but think in her heart, they'll agree to it first. After I get the bracelet, they'll decide whether to leave or not. Seeing that Minor had agreed, Lon Lai walked directly to Long Ruoxue and said with some embarrassment, Can you sell that bracelet to me? I can pay you a hefty sum. Bracelet? Long Ruoxue was a bit confused. She only wore the heaven and earth bracelet on her wrist. However, from the way the woman was looking at her, it wasn't the heaven and earth bracelet. So, she was really curious, which bracelet did this woman like? I want that red snake-shaped bracelet. Before Lon Lai could reply, Minor spoke up impatiently. Then, she looked at Long Ruoxue provocatively. Snake-shaped bracelet? Are you sure? Long Ruoxue asked somewhat speechlessly. She really had good taste, actually liking Little Flame. But, how could Little Flame be bought so easily? Swear, since this miss likes your snake-shaped bracelet, then sell it to her. Wuching said with a smile, but she couldn't help but secretly laugh in her heart. Haha, what kind of eyes does this person have? He actually thinks Xiaohua is a bracelet, but that little fellow isn't easy to get along with. Long Ruoxue was helpless. Little Flame couldn't be sold. Even if she wanted to sell it, Little Flame wouldn't be willing either. How much is it? Name your price. I want this bracelet for sure, Minor said arrogantly. She was determined to get this bracelet. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. It doesn't seem like you're the one paying. Long Ruoxue glanced at Lon Lai beside her and said with slight sympathy. Although she didn't know what relationship this woman had with Lon Lai, she could tell from Lon Lai's expression that he was unwilling. Sigh. Poor Lon Lai. Brother Lon, tell this woman that you'll buy it for me no matter how much it costs, Minor said coquettishly as she tugged on Lon Lai's arm. Miss, please name a price, said Lon Lai gloomily. He only wanted to get rid of this pestering fly as soon as possible, so he really did not care about the price. 100 billion purple coins. Long Ruoxue demanded. What? Are you robbing me? How can this lousy bracelet be so expensive? Minor roared in anger. Why? Can't you afford it? Long Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. If you can't afford it, then don't force yourself to buy it. What a disgrace. Feng Miao added oil to the fire, but her eyes were full of sympathy as she looked at Minor. She was not the only one. Feng De and the others' eyes were filled with sympathy. You ugly freak. You don't have the right to speak here. Minor immediately shouted angrily. Minor, is it? I realize that not only is there something wrong with your eyes, but your aesthetic sense is also very problematic. As long as you're not blind, you can probably tell that I'm prettier than you, but in your eyes, I'm actually ugly. This is really too laughable. Feng Miao was speechless. Sigh. She was someone who didn't care about her looks, yet she had no choice but to take this woman seriously, which showed how much influence this woman had. Nonsense. It's obviously me who's prettier than you. Brother Lon, tell me, am I prettier than all of them? Minor tugged at Lon Lai's arm, asking him to be her judge. The them that Minor spoke of naturally included all the women present. Yes, yes, Lon Lai replied impatiently. However, the narcissistic Minor naturally could not tell. Did you guys hear that? Minor said smugly. Then, she clenched her fists, showing off to Long Ruoxue and the others. Her words made Long Ruoxue and the others speechless. Miss Minor, didn't you want to buy this bracelet? Long Ruoxue couldn't stand this narcissistic woman and quickly changed the topic to the bracelet. Chapter 705. I want that bracelet. 5. That's right. Name a price. Minor hurriedly said. She definitely had to get her hands on this bracelet. Who asked her to like it at first glance? I said 100 billion. Long Ruoxue reminded. Brother Lon. Minor looked at Lon Lai with a pleading gaze. Hearing this price, she knew that Brother Lon would not buy it for her. Miss, we sincerely want to buy it. Give us a real price. Lon Lai said bluntly. I'm also selling it with sincerity. It's a fixed price. If you can afford it, then take it. Otherwise, don't have any ideas about my bracelet. Long Ruoxue said coldly. Minor, that bracelet is too expensive. Let's not buy it. Lon Lai saw that the beautiful woman in front of him could not get through to him, so he could only persuade Minor. Although he really wanted to send Minor away, he could not take out 100 billion to buy her a bracelet. Not to mention that he could not take out so much money. Even if he could, he would not be such a spendthrift. Big Brother Lon, you promised to buy it for me, Minor said with tears in her eyes, feeling extremely wronged. That bracelet is too expensive. I won't be able to afford it even if I sell myself. Lon Lai's patience had finally run out. After saying that, he went straight upstairs to his room without looking back. Just you wait. If you provoke our Lon family, you'll suffer. Minor saw that Lon Lai had gone upstairs and left behind a threatening sentence before chasing after him. Sigh. Miss, we've been threatened again. Phoned aside helplessly. Hurry up and eat. After eating, rest early, Long Ruoxue said disapprovingly. It wasn't like she hadn't provoked the Lon family before. Why would she be afraid of a woman's threat? This small episode did not affect Long Ruoxue and the others' mood. After eating, everyone returned to their rooms to rest. Late at night, Long Ruoxue and the freak were sleeping soundly on the bed. All of a sudden, the door to their room opened and a ghostly-looking man in black sneaked in. The man in black sneaked up to their bed and stared at the blood-red bracelet on Long Ruoxue's wrist. Then, he reached out his hand and was about to remove the bracelet. Following that, a scream came from the man in black's mouth. The man in black quickly shook his hand and ran out of Long Ruoxue and the demon's room in a sorry state. What's wrong? What happened? At this time, Fengda and the others heard the scream and rushed into their room. Miss, what's wrong? Wake up. Leto went up and pushed her miss, but Long Ruoxue did not react. Seeing this situation, she couldn't help but feel anxious. Leto, don't be anxious. I have already asked Lin Yuan to look for the shopkeeper. Fengda quickly consoled her. His face was also anxious. Not long after, the shopkeeper who was woken up followed behind Lin Yuan and ran all the way to Long Ruoxue and the demon's room. What happened? The shopkeeper looked at the two unconscious people on the bed and understood. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Shopkeeper, my young miss is in trouble, boo-hoo. Once Lu Tao saw the shopkeeper, she immediately started sobbing. Shopkeeper, isn't the safety of your inn a little too poor? Why did such a thing happen? Could it be that someone in your shadow city is tempted by money? Fengda roared in anger. I can use the reputation of the Shadow Pavilion to guarantee that there will never be such a person in our shadow city. The shopkeeper quickly guaranteed. At the same time, he was a little puzzled. Who was it that did this? It was really too despicable. Wasn't this ruining the reputation of their shadow city? Humph. If he knew who this person was, he would definitely mobilize the entire Shadow League to hunt him down. Shopkeeper. If this old man didn't smell wrongly, there's clearly the smell of knockout powder in this room. Furthermore, it's the forgotten soul that's most harmful to the human body. My poor girl and kid. How did they encounter such an unlucky thing? At this moment, the little old man said faintly, Don't worry, old man. We'll definitely catch the culprit and give you an explanation. The shopkeeper's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he promised. Woo! These people gave him a lot of pressure. However, he had to report this matter to the butler as soon as possible. My granddaughter and grandson-in-law. Shopkeeper, could it be that they've been unconscious all this time? Boo-hoo. They're still so young. Damn little thief. It's best if I don't catch him. Otherwise, they'll definitely chop him into pieces. Lung Qingtian also cried with snot and tears. Everyone, don't worry. This happened in our Shadow City. Our Shadow League will definitely give everyone a satisfactory explanation. The shopkeeper hurriedly guaranteed. Shopkeeper, of course we believe in your guarantee. However, the most important thing now is to wake up my younger sister and brother-in-law. Otherwise, the longer they are unconscious, the more harmful it will be to their bodies. It might even affect their future cultivation. You have to know that they are all geniuses. Lung Ruhan said with a face full of regret. His handsome face seemed to be saying, How did this happen? The 1,000-year snow ginseng is needed to save the girl, but we don't have it, the little old man said with a bitter face. Then, he turned to look at the shopkeeper and said with some embarrassment, Shopkeeper, can you help us think of a way? We are willing to spend a large sum of money to buy it. They'll try. The shopkeeper didn't dare to say that he didn't, otherwise, he believed that he definitely wouldn't be able to leave this place. Moreover, this happened in their shadow pavilion, so he really couldn't just leave it be. After the manager finished speaking, he bid farewell to everyone and left Long Ruashue in the freak's room. Who could have done this? After the shopkeeper left, everyone found a random place to sit down. Then, everyone began to discuss with question marks on their faces. Little Flame, did you see that person's face? Fonda asked carefully. No, but I bit him. So if anyone in this city planted snake venom, that black-clothed person just now would be that person, Little Flame said coldly, its mood extremely unpleasant. Chapter 706. 706, will he die? Fonda asked again. Do you want him to die? Little Flame asked with a mischievous smile. Of course not. We want him to suffer a fate worse than death. Peach Lu said hatefully. Humph. He dared to hurt her young miss. He was really seeking death. As you wish. That person won't die, but he'll also live a very painful life. Fiery shook its little head and said with a bit of pride. Good job, Fiery. Fonda praised. At the same time, he stretched out his hand, wanting to touch Fiery's head. However, he suddenly remembered how terrifying Fiery was, so he retracted his hand. Coward! Little Flame cursed in its heart with slight disdain. Humph! It won't bite people randomly, so why are these people so afraid of it? Women are better. It's never afraid of it. Being looked down upon by a small snake made Fonda extremely depressed. Woo, why was this snake also bullying people? Yes. Suddenly, a scream was heard. The painful scream seemed to be mixed with moans. What's that sound? It's so scary, said Lu Tao nervously. Lu Tao, children are not suitable. Fonda quickly covered Peach's ears. You're the child. Peach slapped Fonda's hand away and said angrily, Humph, do you really think I'm a child who doesn't know anything? I'm not that white. Hee hee, let's go and take a look. Lin Yuan smirked and said excitedly, I suggest you guys better not go. Otherwise, you'll definitely regret it. Fiery warned. Why? Lin Yuan was confused. It's a secret. In any case, don't go out, Little Flame said mysteriously. But women can go out and watch the show. Little Flame added. Everyone became even more puzzled. Why could women go and watch the show, but men couldn't? Could it be that little flame also favored women over men? I'm doing this for your own good. Trust me. Little Flame said with a face like a charlatan. Help. At this moment, a cry for help sounded in the room. It was obviously a man's voice. Ugh. Instantly, cold sweat dripped down Fengda and the others' foreheads. They were so frightened that their hearts trembled, and their thoughts started to run wild. Could it be? We'll go out and take a look. Feng Miao said with a face full of curiosity, then left the room directly. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. However, not even a moment later, Feng Miao returned with a pale face. Little Meow Meow, what's wrong? Why do you look so pale? Everyone asked curiously, their faces full of question marks. Men, don't leave the room. It's too dangerous. Feng Miao warned, but her expression was a little unnatural. Heh, am I right? Fiery laughed mischievously, his face full of pride. That's right. None of you should go out. Otherwise, your innocence will be lost. Feng Miao nodded repeatedly. Mother, this was too unbelievable. This time, Fengda and the others all understood. Could it be that the poison was acting up? But what kind of poison was fiery? It was actually so powerful that it could make people lose their minds. Dong 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 dong. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there was another hurried knock on the door. Feng Miao, who was closest to the door, reluctantly went to open the door under everyone's gaze. However, she couldn't help but feel nervous in her heart. This night was really busy. Feng Miao opened the door and saw the pale-faced shopkeeper and steward Yu, who was pretending to be calm, standing outside the door. She moved aside to let them in. Shopkeeper, why is your expression so unsightly? Lung Qingtian clearly knew what the consultant was saying. Oh, since such a thing had happened in the inn, the shopkeeper must be extremely depressed. I was anxious. I was worried about young Lady Long. The shopkeeper wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said with lingering fear, Boo-hoo. He could not say that he was almost. This was too embarrassing. Even the mystic sovereign could not withstand it. Who would believe this if news got out? How is young Lady Long? I brought 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Are there any alchemists among you? Yu Tian's gaze swept back and forth between Fengda and the others as he asked. Yes, I am. Zheng Yin said under the little old man's signal. This is 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Yu Tian took out a rectangular cold jade box from the ring with some heartache and handed it to Feng Dedeo. He really didn't expect that there was actually an alchemist among them. He originally thought that only Miss Long was one. However, if he knew that Long Ruoxue and the others had a total of 4 alchemists, he would definitely be shocked. After all, there weren't many alchemists in the vast heaven continent, especially alchemists above the alchemy grandmaster level. They were as rare and precious as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Zheng'an received the jade box and carefully opened it. Instantly, a gust of cold air blew towards him. Following that, what entered his eyes was a snow-white and fat snow ginseng. This snow ginseng was slightly bigger than an adult's palm. Its roots were complete and its head had a faint outline of facial features. As an alchemist, he could tell with one look that this snow ginseng was definitely more than 1,000 years old. Good ginseng, exclaimed the little old man. Hee, who would have thought that the Shadow League really had some good stuff? This snow ginseng was the best he had ever seen. This snow ginseng is a treasure of our Shadow League. It was originally not for sale, but something happened to Miss Long in the territory of our Shadow City. So, Yu Tian only spoke halfway before he looked at the snow ginseng in Zheng Yin's hand with a pained and reluctant expression as if he was about to be separated from his sweetheart. Butler you don't have to be reluctant. We won't let you suffer a loss. The little old man promised sincerely. Everyone, name a price. Yu Tian thought for a while and said, although they were responsible for such an incident in the Shadow City, if such a precious snow ginseng was given to him for free, he definitely wouldn't feel good about it. Therefore, he had to accept some money. Otherwise, he would definitely be depressed to death. Steward Yu, I know that this 1,000-year-old snow ginseng can't be bought with money, so I don't plan on asking for a price. If you trust me, this old man, will get my girl to give you a medicinal herb of equal value after I save my girl. What do you think?" The little old man thought for a moment and said, "To every alchemist who valued medicine as much as their life, a snow ginseng was a good thing, and it was even more so for a senior alchemist like him." Chapter 707. Am not a snake, am a family heirloom, 2. A medicinal ingredient of equivalent value? Yu Tian was stunned. Originally, when he heard the little old man say that he wasn't going to offer a price, he was a little angry. However, later on, when he heard that they were going to use medicinal ingredients of equivalent value to exchange for it, he couldn't help but be curious. He really wanted to know what kind of medicinal ingredients these people would use to exchange for it. Hee hee, I guarantee that, butler, you will be satisfied with our medicinal herbs, the little old man promised mysteriously. After all, any medicinal herb that his last took out would probably be worth more than this snow ginseng. It was just that they did not have the snow ginseng with them. All right, Yu Tian nodded. They traded a few times, so he still believed in the credibility of these people. Hee hee, everyone. I have a presumptuous request, Yu Tian continued. Everyone looked at Yu Tian with question marks all over their faces. They didn't understand what he was up to. Can you let us watch while you concoct the pill? Yu Tian asked, somewhat embarrassed. After all, they were outsiders. Sure. Zheng Yin nodded his head without hesitation. He was not so particular when refining pills. Thank you. May I know what kind of medicinal pill this grandmaster wishes to refine? Yu Tian asked curiously. Medicinal pills that could be used for snow ginseng were at least earth grade. Therefore, he really wanted to know if this young man in front of him had the strength of an alchemist grandmaster. The snow ginseng pill, of course, Zheng Yin said matter-of-factly. The snow ginseng pill was a heaven-grade medicinal pill. This was his first time refining it. He did not know what the success rate would be. Yu Tian was greatly shocked. Although he had never seen the snow ginseng elixir before, he was very clear about the rank of the elixir. Therefore, he really couldn't imagine that this man who looked to be in his 30s was actually an alchemy-revered master. How could he not be surprised? Hee hee, steward you, calm down. This is my first time refining a heaven-grade medicinal pill. It's hard to say whether it'll succeed or not. Zheng Yin scratched his head with his hand and said somewhat embarrassedly. Yu Tian was unable to remain calm. His forehead was even dripping with cold sweat. Using snow ginseng to refine a heaven-grade medicinal pill for the first time? This was too extravagant. Yu Tian was in a frenzy at the side while Zheng Yin calmly took out his own cauldron. After lighting the fire and preheating it, he placed the medicinal herbs into the cauldron in order. When all the medicinal herbs in the cauldron melted into liquid, he cut off a few ginseng roots and threw them into the cauldron. Then, he removed the impurities and purified them. Finally, he tempered them and condensed the pills. After all the steps were completed, he waited. Not long after, when the unique fragrance of the snow ginseng pill wafted out from the furnace, everyone knew that the pill had been successfully refined. Under everyone's expectant gazes, Zheng Yin opened the pill furnace. Looking at the snow-white medicinal pill lying in the middle of the pill furnace, he was elated. He didn't expect to succeed on his first attempt at refining heaven-grade medicinal pills. Even though there were only 10, he was already very happy. Congratulations, sir. When Yu Tian saw that the elixir had been successfully refined, his gaze towards Zheng Yin immediately became fiery, and he made up his mind to befriend them. After all, being able to become friends with an alchemy-revered master would bring about many benefits. I was just lucky, Zheng Yin said somewhat embarrassedly. You are too modest. Being able to refine a heaven-grade medicinal pill is not due to luck. Yu Tian was somewhat speechless as he spoke. If luck was really so useful, then how could there be so few alchemist honorable masters? Zheng Yin laughed foolishly, not knowing what to say. Silly boy. Why aren't you giving the medicinal pills to the girl and the boy? The little old man patted his silly disciple's head and lightly reprimanded. Oh, Zheng In hurriedly said. Then, he took out 2 pills from the pill furnace and put them into Long Ruoxue and the demon's mouth respectively. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. A moment later, they opened their eyes. When they saw the people in the room, their faces were filled with confusion. Why aren't you guys sleeping in the middle of the night? What are you doing in my room? Long Ruoxue asked with a face full of question marks. Miss, something happened to you. Peach looked at her mistress with tears in her eyes. What happened to us? Long Ruoxue and the demon asked in unison. You guys were drugged, Peach explained with tears in her eyes. Who would have the guts to do such a thing in the Shadow City? Isn't the security in the Shadow City very good? Could it be that our 10,000 purple coins entrance fee was paid for in vain? Can't even guarantee our basic safety? Long Ruoxue asked like a cannonball, her beautiful face full of disappointment. Young Lady Long, after such a thing happened, I am truly sorry. We will definitely give young Lady Long an explanation. Yu Tian, who was extremely embarrassed, guaranteed. Butler Yu is here too. Long Ruoxue said as if she had just seen someone.
Yes.
Yu Tian nodded speechlessly. Lass, thanks to the housekeeper, she, who gave us the snow ginseng, we were able to wake you up. You have to return a good herb to her later. The little old man reminded her and even secretly winked at Long Ruoxue. Thank you, Butler Yu. Long Ruoxue said gratefully. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Young Lady Long, did you lose anything valuable? Asked Yu Tian. He had been busy watching the concoction process earlier and didn't have the chance to ask for the details. My miss lost a bracelet, said Lu Tao. Bracelet? What kind of bracelet? Yu Tian asked with a face full of curiosity. What kind of thief would use Forget Soul for a bracelet? One had to know that this was the most damaging knockout powder. Not only would the person who planted the poison remain unconscious, even if he woke up, his cultivation would also be damaged. It might even affect his future cultivation. Therefore, this Forget Soul was absolutely considered a forbidden medicine in the vast heaven continent. A red, transparent snake-shaped bracelet. It's worth 100 billion. Lu Tao glanced at Little Flame and said calmly. Yu Tian couldn't help but wipe off the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, how could there be such an expensive bracelet in this world? Steward Yu, that bracelet is my family's young Miss family heirloom. She lost it just like that, sigh. Leto sighed heavily and said with a bitter face. However, when she mentioned the family heirloom, Xiaohua actually raised its little head with a proud expression. Chapter 708. Am not a snake, am a family heirloom. 3. That, we will do our best to help young Lady Long find the lost item. It is getting late. We will take our leave first. After Yu Tian finished speaking, he pulled the shopkeeper and fled as if his buttocks were on fire. Boo-hoo. If he continued, the old ancestor would probably come out to settle the score with them. Why did he run away? I haven't finished speaking. Lu Tao looked at Yu Tian's back and complained. I've already become a family heirloom. How could he still dare to stay here? Little Flame said with understanding. Family heirlooms were very valuable. You're just a small snake. Long Ruoxue placed Little Flame in her palm and gently tapped its little head. Am not a snake. Am a family heirloom, Little Flame said very stubbornly. A family heirloom was much more important than a small snake, so it wanted to be a family heirloom. Little Flame, you are not lost, so you can't be a family heirloom, reminded Lu Tao with some amusement. Then I'm also a family heirloom. Humph. I'll bite whoever dares to say that I'm not. Little Flame glared with its crystal-like eyes and threatened. Everyone was speechless. Little Flame actually threatened them. Boo-hoo. This was really too much. You're a family heirloom. Definitely. Feng Miao was the first to surrender. She had witnessed the tragedy outside with her own eyes, so she absolutely supported this little fellow. From now on, she would not go against anything that this little fellow said. And, you're still the smart one. Little Flame nodded with satisfaction. Then, Its fiery red crystal eyes lightly swept over everyone. "You are a family heirloom," everyone said in unison, extremely spineless. Hearing everyone's words, Little Flame was satisfied. Then, it formed a circle in Long Ruox's palm and happily slept. "Girl, you won't blame me for taking the liberty to use other herbs to exchange for that snow ginseng, right?" After a while, the little old man asked. Even though he knew that the girl wouldn't hide it from him and blame him, he still felt a little uncertain since he hadn't heard her say it herself. "Hee, no way. We don't have any snow ginseng," Long Ruoxua chuckled. Sigh. Grandpa Du was thinking too much. She knew what happened back then. How could she blame him? Hee. Lass, this time, the Lon family will be implicated by that woman, the little old man said with a wicked smile. Doing such a thing in the Shadow League's territory was really courting death. Now, even the Lon family might not be able to protect her. If she didn't use Forgotten Soul, I wouldn't have dragged the Shadow League into this. Long Ruoxua saw that there were no outsiders and that she wasn't acting anymore, so she told the truth. In fact, when the woman had just taken action, she had already discovered it. Originally, she only wanted Little Flame to bite her to punish her, but who knew that the knockout drug that the woman used was actually the Forgotten Soul that made people want to die. Therefore, she was a little angry at the time, so she decided to beat her at her own game and blow things up. And the need to use snow ginseng to solve Forgotten Soul was definitely unexpected for the Shadow League to have 1,000-year-old snow ginseng. Otherwise, she would probably still be unconscious for some time. Lass, even though I don't know what relationship that woman has with the Long Clan, she shouldn't be a member of the Long Clan. Do you think the Shadow League will vent their anger on the Long Clan? The little old man asked worriedly. He had some ties with that old geezer from the Long Clan, so he naturally didn't want to see any harm come to the Long Clan. Even though the Shadow League is mysterious and unfathomable, they shouldn't fall out with the Long Clan over such a small matter. However, after such a thing happened in the Shadow City, the Shadow League's face must be recovered. So, it's inevitable for the Long Clan to lose some money. Long Ruoxua analyzed after thinking for a while. Her relationship with Lon Ming wasn't bad, so she naturally didn't want to make things difficult for the Long Clan. Moreover, it was hard to say whether the old man from the Long Clan recognized this woman or not. Moreover, with her understanding of that old man, that cunning old man would definitely not acknowledge this debt. Yes, but it won't be easy to get money from the Lon family. The little old man nodded in agreement. Hee, Grandpa Du, we don't have to worry about this. It's getting late, everyone should rest early. Long Ruoxua smiled and said, Sigh. Because of a woman who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, they actually went through so much trouble. This was really too much. Aunt couldn't tolerate it. However, she blamed this on Lon Lai. Miss, we want to sleep in this space. Feng Dao and the others exchanged glances and then said in unison, If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm, thanks. Haha, all right. Long Ruoxua chuckled. With a thought, she brought everyone into the space. 2 days later, Long Ruoxua and the others finally left the bracelet. For the past 2 days, they had been staying in the space. During this time, only Feng Miao followed Long Ruoxua's instructions and went to deliver the medicinal herbs to the housekeeper. The others didn't leave the room at all. At the same time, Feng Miao also informed the manager not to disturb them unless it was something important. When Long Ruoxua and her group walked down the stairs and arrived at the hall on the first floor, the shopkeeper quickly came up to them and bowed slightly before asking, Would everyone like to eat something? Sure. Shopkeeper, did anything fun happen in the Shadow City in the past 2 days? Long Ruoxua asked curiously while looking at the shopkeeper with a smile. Cold sweat broke out on the shopkeeper's forehead as he hesitated whether he should say it or not. Shopkeeper, has the whereabouts of the thief who stole our lattice things been found? Lu Tao asked with anticipation. I'm not too sure about this. It's Butler Yu who's in charge. The shopkeeper pushed the blame onto Yu Tian. Oh, after we're done eating, let's go look for Butler Yu. It's been 2 days, there should be some progress. Long Ruoxua said lightly. Actually, She knew clearly that Butler Yu was in a dilemma. After all, this matter involved the Lan family. They'll go prepare food for everyone. After the shopkeeper said that, he left the place as if he was running for his life. Long Ruoxue and the others simply ate some food. After that, they majestically went to find Yu Tian. When they arrived at the entrance of Butler Yu's residence, Long Ruoxue gave Feng a look. Feng walked up and knocked on the door a few times. Creak. The door opened and a guard walked out. When he saw Long Ruoxue and the others, he politely asked, "Who are you looking for?" Chapter 709. Am not a snake. Am a family heirloom. 4. My Miss surname is Long. We're looking for Butler Yu, Feng replied. Oh, please wait a moment, the guard said before closing the door to report to Butler Yu. A few minutes later, Butler Yu came out personally. Young Lady Long, your body has just recovered. How did you come out? Haha, if you want to see me, you just need to send someone to inform me, and I will personally go see you. Yu Tian's face was full of smiles as he spoke with great enthusiasm. Butler Yu is very busy every day. Unlike me who has nothing to do, of course I have to personally visit. Long Ruoxue said politely. Haha, quickly come in. Yu Tian smiled awkwardly. His heart was beating like a drum. From her tone, could it be that young Lady Long was blaming him? Boo-hoo. He was wronged. Okay. Long Ruoxue nodded. Then everyone followed the housekeeper into the courtyard. After bringing Long Ruoxue and the others to the living room, Yu Tian instructed the waiter to prepare tea and snacks before sitting down to chat with them. Housekeeper Yu, have you found the thief? Long Ruoxue asked bluntly when she saw that Yu Tian was looking left and right. Recently, someone in Shadow City has been poisoned. However, we aren't too sure either. Yu Tian said very implicitly. Butler Yu, to be honest, the symptoms of the snake poison aren't too obvious for the person who was bitten by my Xiaohua. However, the person who is poisoned has an extremely strong physiological requirement. Before long, they will die from exhaustion. Moreover, this kind of poison can be transmitted through certain actions. So, it's best if you find this person as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Long Ruoxue calmly explained. She didn't even ask who the person who was poisoned was. After that, she drank a mouthful of tea and looked at Yu Tian with her beautiful eyes that had a smile that wasn't a smile. She believed that housekeeper Yu knew what she said was true. After speaking, Long Ruoxue stood up and left. After sending Long Ruoxue off, Yu Tian sat alone on a chair and pondered for a long time. Suddenly, he called out to the void, Shadow. My lord, what instructions do you have? A black ghost-like figure instantly appeared before Yu Tian. Shadow, how trustworthy do you think young Lady Long's words are? Yu Tian asked his confidant very seriously. Sir, 2 of our men have already been poisoned, and they are still unconscious, the Shadow reminded. The 2 who had been poisoned had been bitten. Furthermore, their Shadow League's alchemists had tried all sorts of methods, but were still unable to cure the poison. You mean to hand that woman over? Yu Tian hesitated. If it wasn't because that woman was the younger cousin of the Lan clan's young master, he wouldn't have to be in such a difficult situation. He definitely wanted to be on good terms with young Lady Long, but the Lan clan wasn't willing to provoke them. Although the Shadow League wasn't afraid of the Lan clan, if he could sell a favor to the Lan clan, it would be beneficial to the Shadow League as well. Sigh. Could it be that there wasn't a way to achieve the best of both worlds? For the past 2 days, he had a headache over this matter. Sir, if I am not wrong, Miss Long and the rest must know who the thief is. Therefore, it is unlikely that they will be able to make a comeback, the Shadow said carefully. Sigh. What you said makes sense. Yu Tian nodded, his brows furrowing deeper and deeper. Lord, you better remind the other lords about this. I feel that Miss Long is even more difficult to deal with than the Lan clan. The Shadow said softly. Of course I know that young Lady Long isn't someone to be trifled with. However, they have to listen to me. Yu Tian said in a somewhat depressed manner. At the same time, he recalled the fire lotus that Feng Miao sent over. Sigh. Using snow ginseng to exchange for the fire lotus was still them taking advantage of him. After all, even though snow ginseng was precious, it wasn't as widely used as the fire lotus. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. The shadow fell silent. After Long Ruashue and the others left Yu Tian's residence, they returned to the shadow pavilion. In the room, Fengde could not help but ask, "Miss, what does Butler you mean? The Shadow League's face is nothing more than this?" Long Ruashue mocked. It seemed she had overestimated the Shadow League. Lass, the relationships between the aristocratic families have always been very deep, so it's normal for the Shadow League to hesitate. After all, the Lan family's strength is obvious, and in their eyes, we can't be compared to the Lan family at all, the little old man said knowingly, consoling Long Ruashue. I know. Long Ruashue nodded. Although she was a little depressed, she also knew that in the eyes of the Shadow League, she couldn't compare to a super aristocratic family. Oh, since ancient times, only the strong had the right to speak. Miss, didn't Butler you promise to give us an explanation? Is he trying to fool us? Peach Lu asked in confusion. Haha, of course he'll give us an explanation. However, I'm afraid that it won't satisfy us. Long Ruashue said in understanding. After making a trip to the housekeeper's office, she was even more clear about the Shadow League's intentions. It looked like it was as she had expected. The Shadow League was currently in a difficult position. Miss, what should we do now? Lu Tao could not help but ask. Were they working for nothing? Wait. In any case, I'm not the one who was poisoned. I'm not in a hurry. Long Ruashue laughed lightly. No matter what relationship that woman has with the Lan family, since that woman dared to have designs on her, then don't even think about living well. The Lan family can't protect Minor either. Hee. Then let's wait, said Lu Tao with an evil smile. However, she had not heard any screams for the past 2 days. Could it be that the woman had already left Shadow City? Yes. Everyone nodded. Miss, when are we leaving this place? Feng Miao suddenly asked. After this matter is settled, we'll leave. Oh, what's the matter? Long Ruashue said with understanding. No. Feng Miao hurriedly said. Oh, if you have nothing to do during the day, you can enter the space to cultivate. Long Ruashue thought for a while and said. The Shadow City was too small, and there was really nothing to visit. After all, everyone who came here was here for the transaction. And Fengde and the others nodded. Just as they were about to enter the space, they heard a knock on the door. Chapter 7:10. I'm not a snake. I'm a family heirloom. 5. Fengde turned around to open the door, only to discover that it was Butler Yu and an unfamiliar middle-aged man standing outside. Butler Yu, we just came back from your place. We haven't even warmed up our butts. Why are you here? Fengde chuckled. I have something to discuss with young Lady Long. I forgot to mention it earlier. Yu Tian said somewhat embarrassedly. Oh, then please come in. Vonetta moved aside and let them into the room. Butler Yu, what's the matter? Long Ruashue asked directly without even inviting Yu Tian to sit down. Are you Sir Du-min? Suddenly, the middle-aged man who had been standing next to Yu Tian fixed his gaze on the small old man and spoke with an excited expression. Oh, it's been a long time since someone called me by that name, the little old man said indifferently. Mr. Du-min, I really didn't expect to see you here. I'm so happy. The middle-aged man was extremely excited. Sir Du-min? Yu Tian also stuttered a little. No wonder he felt that this little old man was somewhat familiar. To think that this unremarkable old man was actually the godlike person in the hearts of all alchemists. Although he wasn't an alchemist, he was still very clear about Du-min's position in the alchemy world and even in the entire vast heaven continent. If he had long seen that this little old man was Sir Du-min, he probably wouldn't have hesitated either. He didn't know if it was still too late. What are you talking about? Just call me old man. The little old man said disapprovingly. Butler Yu, what are you here for? Long Ruashue couldn't help but ask again. She didn't want to attend a fan meeting with her idol. Young Lady Long, it's like this. Didn't I tell you that someone in the city was indeed poisoned? However, there isn't sufficient evidence. Moreover, 2 people in our Shadow League were poisoned and were bitten by someone. So, I'm here to ask for the snake poison. If it can cure my subordinate's poison, then we can basically confirm the thief. Yution pondered for a moment before speaking in an extremely reserved manner. Oh, is that so? It seems that Steward Yu doesn't have any sincerity. Someone, send the guest out. Long Ruoxue instructed expressionlessly. At this time, Yution was still playing mind games with her. To think she had such a good impression of him. Young Lady Long, Yution wanted to explain, but Long Ruoxue didn't give him a chance. She turned around and entered the inner room. Butler Yu, this way please. Fengdu extended an arm and made an inviting gesture. Yution gave the middle-aged man a look. The middle-aged man opened his mouth with some difficulty and said, Sir Du Min. However, just as he said a few words, he was interrupted by the little old man. Sigh. This old man is getting on in years. I don't care anymore. Our lass has the final say. The little old man pretended to sigh helplessly. Then, he shrugged his shoulders, indicating that he was helpless. Seeing this, Yution and the middle-aged man had no choice but to leave with their tails between their legs. After leaving, the middle-aged man could not help but mutter as he walked, Butler Yu, why didn't you tell them that the thief was found? I have to tell you, if they can't get the snake venom, they will lose their lives. I know, they are my subordinates. I am also anxious. However, this matter is not something that I can decide alone. I have to go back and discuss it with the others. Yution said with a troubled expression. Sigh. If he could say it directly, how could he not? Then you have to be quick. They won't be able to last much longer, the middle-aged man reminded her. At the same time, he was complaining in his heart. Sigh. If it weren't for that damn woman, he wouldn't have had the chance to get close to his idol. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Got it. Yution replied in an extremely depressed manner. After that, the 2 of them directly returned to the Shadow Alliance's encampment. The next day, Yution and the middle-aged man came to visit again. They said a lot of good things and told Long Ruoxue the truth. They even automatically signed numerous unequal treaties before coaxing Long Ruoxue to take out 2 antidotes. As he looked at the antidote in his hand, Yution's tears fell like rain, and he was extremely excited. Woo! What a rare antidote. For the sake of these 2 antidotes, he had cursed all those conservative and stubborn old things last night. Butler Yu, why aren't you going back quickly and giving these 2 antidotes to your subordinates? Long Ruoxue reminded. Since Yution was willing to lower his head for his subordinates, he could be considered to be a loyal person. Thus, she was magnanimous and didn't bother about Yution's previous actions. After all, from his perspective, he didn't do anything wrong. Oh. Yution hurriedly nodded, and then he vanished with a swish. Even though Yution took the antidote and left, the middle-aged man didn't leave. He even stayed next door to them. Furthermore, as long as he had time, he would stick by the little old man's side. His diligence left even Zheng Yin, his disciple, in the dust. Another day passed. Long Ruoxue and the others had just finished their lunch in the space when Qingju informed them that someone was knocking on the door. She quickly moved everyone out of the space. Oldly, what's wrong with you? Fengda, who went to open the door, saw the middle-aged man standing outside the door and teased him in a good mood. I have something to inform you guys, the middle-aged man called Oldly said as he panted, his face filled with anxiety. What's wrong? Long Ruoxue asked curiously. I just received news that someone from the Lan family is here, Oldly said after calming down a little. When Long Ruoxue heard Oldly's words, she frowned slightly. She thought to herself, has the Lan family finally shown themselves? I wonder who it is, but it doesn't matter. Where is the Lan family? The little old man asked curiously, his face full of anticipation. They went to Butler Yes' place, Oldly said speechlessly. It seemed like those people had heard that Butler You had the antidote, so they want to look for him. Sigh. He really did not know how this news was leaked. Then let's go too. Lung Ruoxue smiled. Of course, they were there to watch the show. All right. Everyone nodded excitedly, and then the group of them left the inn in a formidable array and headed straight for Yu Tian's residence. Chapter 711. Feng Miao's Cousin 1. Because Old Li was there, they didn't knock on the door this time and just strutted in. However, before they entered the living room, they heard an arrogant female voice from afar. Why didn't you give my daughter the antidote first? Lung Ruoxue stopped in her tracks and looked up at Old Li, asking calmly, Who is this woman? This woman is the mistress of the Hu family and also the aunt of the Lan family's young master, Old Li explained. The Hu family? I've never heard of them. Lung Ruoxue's face was full of question marks. Was the Hu family very famous? This woman actually yelled at the housekeeper's office. Sigh. She really didn't know if she was dead or alive. However, she was even more surprised that Yu Tian was actually able to endure it. Could it be that the Shadow League had fallen? Miss Long, are we still going in? Old Li asked carefully. Come in. Why not? Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she walked into the living room with the demon. Why are you guys here? After Yu Tian saw Lung Ruoxue, he kept giving her meaningful looks. Then, he glared at Old Li who was beside Lung Ruoxue. Butler, you has a guest? Looks like we came at the wrong time. Lung Ruoxue pretended to be stupid as she smiled. However, she did not have any intention of leaving. Instead, she found a seat and sat down. The demon sat beside her and Fengda, and the rest did not need to greet her. Butler, you must give me an explanation. Why didn't you give the antidote to my daughter first? My daughter is the future young madam of the Lan family. The Lan family will not let you off. A woman who had been ignored shouted at the top of her lungs. Lung Ruoxue, who was sitting at the side, lifted her beautiful eyes and sized up the woman who spoke. The woman in front of her was about 40 years old. She looked ordinary and her figure was long gone. As for her strength, it was so weak that it could be ignored. Moreover, this woman and Minor looked quite similar. However, Minor should be considered to have gained weight. At this moment, the woman was glaring fiercely at Butler Yu. Madam Hu, can you represent the Lan clan? Yu Tian sighed lightly and asked with slight uncertainty. Truthfully speaking, he had given the Lan clan's great master face, so he had tolerated this woman repeatedly. However, this woman thought that he was afraid of her. How preposterous. Of course I can. Madam Hu said domineeringly. Butler Yu, there's a problem with your question. The great master of the Lan family is just sitting by the side. Why don't you just ask him directly? Lung Ruoxue couldn't stand it anymore. Sigh. Just how cowardly was this Lan Lai's father? He actually let such an ignorant woman fool around. No wonder that damned old man Lan Tao refused to hand over the position of the family head. Sir Lan, what do you think? Can Madam Hu represent the Lan clan? Yu Tian nodded before he asked. Actually, he was giving Lan Tian face by not asking earlier, but who would have expected Lan Tian to remain silent? Lan Tian glanced at his beloved wife beside him. He didn't know what to say, so he could only remain silent. Of course she can't represent our Lan family. Lan Lai could not bear it any longer. To be honest, there were times when he really did not understand why his father would indulge this woman so much. Was it because she was his mother's younger sister? Liar. She's your aunt. A voice as gentle as water sounded helplessly. Lan Lai, you heartless. When Madam Hu heard that, she hurriedly tried to scold him. However, her words were interrupted by Lan Lai. So what? Her surname isn't Lan. Lan Lai said with a face full of anger. Just because this woman was his aunt and seemed to be indebted to his mother and son when they were young, their entire family had to treat her as their benefactor for the rest of their lives. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. To be honest, all these years, this so-called aunt had been using the Lan family's name to gain benefits for her husband's family. He and his father had also turned a blind eye to it and pretended not to see it. Even if they had repaid her kindness back then, This aunt's ambition was really too great. She actually wanted to marry her daughter to him. Humph. He didn't like that conceited and greedy cousin of his at all. If it wasn't for his mother, he wouldn't have bothered with that woman at all. Furthermore, after creating such a scandal, she actually wanted to enter the Lawn family. He really didn't know what this pair of mother and daughter were thinking. Madam Hu, right? I was the one who gave Butler you the antidote. Lung Ruoxue, who originally wanted to watch a good show, didn't want to play dumb anymore, so she directly said, "Sigh. Looking at these people's acting skills, they probably wouldn't be able to put on a good show." And she had no interest in watching any further. "It's you? Then why didn't you give my daughter to me? Don't you know she's the future young madam of the Lawn family?" After hearing Long Ruoxue's words, Madame Hu's anger was immediately ignited as she roared like a lion. When Butler Yu saw this, he knew that Miss Long was planning to remain calm. Hence, he pretended to be deaf and mute. "Why should I give it to her?" Lung Ruoxue asked in confusion. "Of course you have to give it to her. She's the future young madam of the Lawn family," Madame Hu emphasized. "Future? In other words, she's not." "Madame Hu, I don't understand one thing. After what happened, do you think the Lawn family will still allow her to enter?" Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. "What is it? Don't spout nonsense. My daughter was only poisoned. Nothing happened," Madame Hu said evasively. "Madame Hu, young Master Lawn is willing to be a spendthrift, but it doesn't mean that everyone is a fool. Who in the Shadow City doesn't know that Miss Hu Minor has 10 men at night, and she's spending the night with them?" Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. "Miss, you cannot speak such nonsense. This concerns a woman's reputation." The moment Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, her gentle voice sounded again. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the middle-aged beauty who spoke. She thought to herself, "Is this person Lawn Lai's mother? I really don't know if she was too well protected by her father and son, or if she was born so fair. Sigh, what a worrisome person." Now, she suddenly felt some sympathy for Lawn Lai. "Don't spout nonsense. My daughter is innocent. Don't slander her." At this time, Madame Hu also reacted and shouted furiously. Chapter 712. Feng Miao's Cousin, 2. Butler Yu, did I slander you? Lung Ruoxue looked at Yu Tian and smiled. "No, what Miss Lung said is the truth. Miss Hu did indeed spend the night and night, pouncing on men whenever she saw them. Now, all the men in Shadow City are in danger. If there's nothing important, they wouldn't dare to go out at all. Furthermore, many good men have not only had their innocence ruined by Miss Hu, but they have also been poisoned by her and are still unconscious." Butler Yu added fuel to the fire. You all are speaking nonsense. My daughter was only poisoned." Madame Hu roared out. However, her confidence was clearly lacking. "Does Madame Hu know why her daughter was poisoned?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. "Hu Minor had ulterior motives and wanted to steal my bracelet, so she was bitten by my beast." Lung Ruoxue did not give Madame Hu a chance to speak and continued. "So it was you who harmed my daughter." Madame Hu couldn't find the person who poisoned her daughter, so when she heard Lung Ruoxue admit it, she immediately exploded. "Madame Hu, don't you understand human language? I told you before that I was the one who gave Butler Yu the antidote. Also, I said a few seconds ago that Hu Minor was here to steal my bracelet and was bitten by my beast. So, your precious daughter is asking for it." Lung Ruoxue sneered. "No matter what, you're the one who harmed my daughter." "I won't let you get away with it," said Madame Hu. "That's just as well. I don't plan on letting your precious daughter off either. By the way, let me remind you that your daughter can only live for 3 days at most," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Finished talking, she directly stood up. Then, she said to Tian, "Steward Yu, you know better than me what kind of treatment people who use Forget Soul on the vast heaven continent will receive."
Amen.
Yu Tian nodded. He understood what Lung Ruoxue meant. "Then we'll take our leave first," Lung Ruoxue said. After that, she brought the crowd and left Yu Tian's residence. After watching Lung Ruoxue and the others leave, Yu Tian turned to the guard and instructed, "Send the guests off." After speaking, Yu Tian left his residence. In the guest room, as soon as Long Ruoxue and the others returned to the restaurant, Feng De and the others started discussing impatiently. Hee, that madam who is a real piece of work. Feng De couldn't stand it anymore. He had seen many women, but this was the first time he had seen such a shameless woman. His daughter was already in such a state, but she was still dreaming about being the young madam of the Lan family. He really didn't know what that old woman was thinking. This is what you call having a daughter like her mother. Lin Yuan teased. I really wanted to kill that old woman just now. Peach clenched her fists and said rather violently. However, without misorder, she did not dare to do it. Long Ruoxue sat on the chair, playing with the fire as she listened to her subordinates' discussion. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Feng De, go open the door. Long Ruoxue instructed calmly.
Yes.
Vonda went to open the door, but he returned shortly after. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm, thanks. Where are the guests? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. It's someone from the Long clan. Does young miss want to see him? Feng De asked carefully. Of course I want to see her. Long Ruoxue smiled. She had already expected the Lan family to come to see her, so she was waiting. After hearing Long Ruoxue's words, Feng De turned around and invited the Lan family members in. What's the matter? Long Ruoxue leaned comfortably in the devil's embrace, teasing the fire in her palm as she asked coldly. Miss Long, we're here to seek the cure, the middle-aged woman said gently. Oh, I thought you guys were here to apologize. Long Ruoxue said lightly. She took out a small red fruit from her bracelet and fed it to Horror. Miss Long, I'm willing to apologize to you on Miner's behalf. Can you give me the antidote? The middle-aged woman asked very sincerely. Why should I give you the antidote? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. Although an apology was necessary, she did not think an apology would be enough to appease her anger. Miss Long, Miner has done such a thing. I'm willing to compensate you for her loss, Lan Tian said directly as he could not bear to see his wife suffer. Compensation? How do you want to compensate? I was hit by Forget Soul and lost my family heirloom worth 100 billion. Can you compensate me? Long Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked directly. Lan Tian remained silent. Miss Long, Miner did something wrong. However, aren't you fine now? Please give her another chance. My sister only has one child. The middle-aged woman started crying as she spoke. Her tear-stained appearance was truly pitiful. Of course, this didn't include Long Ruoxue and the others. Madame Lan, you think I'm fine, so I should let Miss Hu go, right? I'm fine not because Hu Minor didn't succeed, but because I took the antidote. If it weren't for my grandfather and the others spending a huge sum of money to buy the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, I probably wouldn't have woken up. Long Ruoxue said in an extremely cold tone. But Minor has already been punished, Madame Lan whispered. Compared to the consequences of using forgotten souls, her punishment is not enough. Madame Lan, you are very lucky to have a husband who loves you and an obedient son. However, you are too ignorant. Actually, ignorance is not a serious problem. Your biggest problem is being unable to differentiate right from wrong. Long Ruoxue pointed out the problem with the woman in front of her. However, it caused the father and son of the Lan family to glare daggers at her. Instantly, she felt that she was being a busybody, so she stopped talking. I can't tell right from wrong. I just want to repay your kindness. Madame Lan said softly. Feng De, send the guests away. I don't want to see them again in the future. Long Ruoxue rudely chased them away. Sigh. Ignorant women weren't scary, but ignorant women who couldn't differentiate right from wrong were the scariest. She had always hated women who were as soft as water. Oh, Lan Lai was a good child, but it was a pity he had such a naive mother. Please, Feng De said lightly. Chapter 713. Feng Miao's Cousin, 3. Wait, are you Long Ruoxue? Lon Lai suddenly asked. For some reason, he felt that this Miss Long was very similar to the person he knew. However, their appearances were worlds apart. Hence, he could not be sure. Does it have anything to do with each other? People who walk different paths cannot work together. Long Ruoxue neither admitted nor denied it. However, she knew that she was a straightforward person. Hence, her relationship with Lon Lai could only be like this. I understand. Lon Lai was disappointed. Then, he left Long Ruoxue in the freak's room with his parents. Swear, this kid from the Lon family is quite pitiful. After Lon Lai and the others left, the little old man sighed. Grandpa do, I can't help him, Long Ruoxue said helplessly. Lon Lai's mother could not differentiate right from wrong. It was all because of the father and son spoiling. Also, his aunt was the same. So, if they wanted to blame someone, they could only blame themselves for not having principles. In the following 2 days, Lon Lai did not come to look for them again. And there was news that the Hu family offended someone and directly vanished from the vast heaven continent. However, regarding the Hu family's demise, the Lon family did not have any reaction. Even though Yu Tian didn't say it explicitly, Long Ruoxue knew that Yu Tian must have sent someone to do all of this. As for the Long clan, Yu Tian should have sent someone to greet them. As for Hu Minor and her daughter in the Shadow City, they would naturally die. In the guest room, Long Ruoxue looked at Feng Miao, who was standing by the window in a daze, and her heart was full of doubts. What's wrong with this guy these past 2 days? He's always restless. Miss, when are we leaving Shadow City? Feng Miao felt Long Ruoxue's gaze and couldn't help but ask. I don't know. Didn't Butler you say that there will be a batch of medicinal ingredients arriving soon? After buying them, we will naturally leave. Long Ruoxue smiled lightly. Little Miao Miao, is there something on your mind? Oh, is it spring? Feng Zhan flew in front of Feng Miao and asked with a puzzled expression. Go to hell. You're the one who's in heat. Feng Miao roared rather angrily. Women must be gentle. You can't be so fierce. Be careful not to get married. Feng Zhan kindly reminded. Men don't have good things. I'm not getting married. After hearing Feng Zhan's words, Feng Miao became even angrier. Oh, it really is spring. Which beast did you take a fancy to, young miss? Feng Zhan said with understanding. Young Miss Beast was extremely beautiful and cute, so it was normal for this female bird to take a fancy to it. As for whether those beasts would take a fancy to her, it was unknown. I'm not interested in any of them. Stop talking nonsense and get lost. Feng Miao roared. Feng Zhan, come over. Don't provoke her. Long Ruoxue helplessly said. Oh. Feng Zhan obediently flew to Long Ruoxue's shoulder and affectionately rubbed against her. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Master, they'll go open the door, Feng Zhan said. Then, he flew to the door and opened it to find the waiter standing outside. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. What is it? Feng Zhan asked. I'm here to tell Miss Long that the medicinal herbs have arrived. However, the attendant at the pharmacy can't leave now. He said that the goods will be sent over later, the attendant said hurriedly. He knew that Miss Long's beasts were all very fierce, so he didn't dare to provoke any of them. Oh, got it. Feng Zhan replied, and then he closed the door with a bang. After Feng Zhanfei returned to Long Ruoxue, before he could report, his master spoke. Feng Zhan, you and Feng Miao go get it yourself? Long Ruoxue said after thinking for a while. Since Feng Miao was in a bad mood, then let her go out for a walk. Maybe her mood would improve. Master, can I not go? Feng Zhan spoke with slight fear. He really didn't want to be together with this violent dragoness right now. Without Master's protection, that female bird would definitely bully him. No, but I can ask Little Flame to go with you. Long Ruoxue said with an understanding smile. Sigh. All right then. Feng Zhan's little head drooped as he replied extremely unwillingly. Feng Miao, go and get the herbs, then we'll be on our way. Long Ruoxue looked at Feng Miao and reminded. Okay. Hearing that they were going to go on their way, Feng Miao's gloomy mood immediately turned gloomy. Go quickly and come back quickly, Lung Ruoxue said. Then, she passed Xiaohua, which was wrapped around her wrist, to Feng Miao. Master, don't miss me too much, Feng Zhan said with reluctance. Fuck off. The freak who had been silent all this while roared. Woo, they're all so fierce. Feng Zhan landed on Feng Miao's shoulder and complained with a face full of fear. Feng Miao rolled her eyes at the little red bird on her shoulder. Then she left the guest shop with the two beasts in large strides. Shuer, when are we leaving? After Feng Miao left, the demon pulled Shuer into his arms and asked softly. Whatever. You can leave later or tomorrow morning, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Should we bid farewell to Butler Yu and the rest? The freak suggested. There's no need. Lung Ruoxue pondered for a moment before replying. Actually, they weren't very familiar with Yu Tian. They only had a few happy exchanges with each other. Yes. The freak nodded. He was a filial fiancé, so he would naturally listen to whatever Shuer said. As the two of them were chatting, there was another knock on the door. They won't be back so soon, right? Lung Ruoxue said with a face full of suspicion. I'll open the door. The freak stood up and opened the door. Miss Lung, your subordinate has been captured by the patrolling guards. The moment the door opened, the waiter at the door shouted loudly. What did you say? Hearing the voice, Lung Ruoxue quickly walked to the door and asked. Her subordinates were all cultivating in the space. Feng Miao and the others had gone to the pharmacy to retrieve herbs. Who would be caught? It's that Miss Feng and your two beasts. The waiter hurriedly explained. Chapter 714. Feng Miao's cousin, 4. Why did you capture them? Lung Ruoxue asked with a cold expression. Did they really think she was easy to mess with? Well, I don't know what exactly happened. I heard it from a customer, so I came to tell you, the waiter explained. Thank you. Where are they currently locked up? Lung Ruoxue took out a few purple coins and gave them to the waiter as thanks before asking. He's in Shadow City's dungeon, the server replied. Freak, let's go to the prison to take a look. Lung Ruoxue turned around and said to the freak. Okay. The freak knew that Shuer was very anxious, so he didn't waste time and pulled Shuer out of the restaurant. In the Shadow City dungeon, Feng Miao, Feng Zhan, and Little Flame were currently locked in the same cell. I'm sorry for implicating you, Feng Miao said somewhat guiltily. Sigh. What bad luck. She thought she could avoid it, but who knew that she still met it? Little Miao Miao, you are my subordinate. I don't want to hear such words. Feng Zhan's face was stiff as he said with slight displeasure. At this moment, he had already transformed into his human form. This is the prison? Little Flame wasn't as depressed as Feng Miao. Instead, it looked around curiously at the environment in front of it. Yeah, you've broadened your horizons today. Feng Zhan chuckled and teased. Actually, it was also the first time he was captured into a prison. A woman will come and save us. Don't worry. Little Flame nodded its little head and said in a very open-minded manner. ITLL just take it as coming here to travel. Oh, Little Flame, will you bite that woman to death with that strike just now? Feng Zhan asked with a mischievous smile. According to his knowledge, Fiery had at least 10,000 types of poison in its body. Moreover, it didn't even bite people in the same manner. I want. The woman said before that living a life worse than death is 100 times more painful than directly cracking it apart. That's why I won't let her die so easily. Little Flame said with slight complacency, and its little tail curled up proudly. The truth. Feng Zhan spoke with a fawning expression, and he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. Oh, Master is suspected of teaching children bad things. Thinking back, this little red snake was such a pure and kind child. That's for sure. Fiery became increasingly cocky. Looks like you guys have adapted quite well. Suddenly, a A cold voice sounded in their ears. The two humans and one beast raised their heads at the same time and looked at Long Ruoxue, who was right in front of them. They shouted enthusiastically in unison, "Master! Woman! Miss!" Feng Miao's voice was the smallest. After calling out once, she lowered her head in embarrassment. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Who's going to tell me what's going on? Long Ruoxue glared at Feng Zhan and asked, "Woman, there was a very coquettish woman who wanted to snatch your family heirloom. Me, so I bid her. After that, the man beside her wanted to teach us a lesson. After that, we started fighting. After that, we were caught here," Little Flame said. However, because Little Flame spoke too quickly, it didn't say it very clearly, but Long Ruoxue finally understood a little. There was someone who was so blind as to want to snatch Little Flame away. Looking at the sparkling, translucent, and incomparably beautiful little fellow, she couldn't help but feel uneasy in her heart. Little Flame actually became a disaster too. "Miss, it's all my fault." Feng Miao lowered her head and said softly, "Master, they're from the Phoenix clan," Feng Zhan explained. "Phoenix clan? Isn't that Feng Miao's clansman?" Long Ruoxue said softly, then looked at Feng Miao with a face full of question marks. "Miss, that woman's name is Feng Xian. She's my cousin, but we don't have a good relationship. She likes to snatch my things, including men. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have wanted to snatch Little Flame. So, I'm sorry, it's all my fault," Feng Miao said guiltily. She kept her head lowered, not daring to look at Long Ruoxue. Does she want to snatch or buy? Long Ruoxue was a little speechless. What was this? Initially, she thought all beast men were innocent, cute, and kind-hearted. But who knew that even among beast men, there would be something like snatching things or even men? This was too unbelievable. Woman, she didn't even say she was going to buy it and directly snatched it. How could I do as she wished? Am your family heirloom, woman? Those Tom, Dick, and Harry don't have the qualifications to have me," Fiery said with a fawning expression, then shook its head very cockily as if it had done something amazing. "Well done." Long Ruoxue patted Little Flame's head and praised it. Her family's beasts didn't allow others to bully it. Hee. Xiaohua climbed onto Long Ruoxue's palm and licked her palm gently. Then, it coiled into a ring and lay down. "Young miss, that damn woman is really too annoying. I've never hated a phoenix so much in my entire life." Feng Zhan continued to complain. He knew that his master wouldn't be angry with them. His master was a human who loved beasts the most. "Feng Zhan, tell me what exactly happened?" Long Ruoxue asked. Fiery said it too simply. It only. Chapter 715. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. 1. Then did you guys suffer any losses? Long Ruoxue asked worriedly. Oh, this was what she was more concerned about. She had always been protective of her own people. No one dared to bully her. Master, with me around, it's naturally impossible for us to suffer a loss. Even though those people are stronger than us, the ones who are injured are them. Feng Zhan said proudly. That's good. As long as you don't suffer any losses, it doesn't matter if the others live or die. Long Ruoxue nodded in satisfaction. Listening to their conversation, Feng Miao was dumbfounded. Even though she hadn't been with Long Ruoxue for long, she knew she was a good master. However, she didn't expect her to be so overprotective. Feng Miao couldn't help but feel touched. Feng Miao, tell me about the Phoenix clan. Long Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, as the saying goes, know thyself and thy enemy. Since she had offended the Phoenix clan, she naturally had to find out more about them. Luckily, she had a branch of the Phoenix clan by her side. Young Miss, Feng Xian's mother, who is also my aunt, is now the acting clan leader of the Phoenix clan. As for my mother and some of the elders of the Phoenix clan, They are all in deep sleep. Therefore, the Phoenix clan is a little chaotic now. Furthermore, the Phoenix clan is no longer the Phoenix clan of. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. The past. Feng Miao said sadly. Boo-hoo. If not for this, she probably would not have chosen to leave the clan and find a place to cultivate alone. She would not have met Long Ruoxue and the others. Sigh. Thinking back to when she was defeated by Long Ruoxue's beasts, she was still a little depressed. But now, she was rejoicing. Deep sleep? The Phoenix clan is in chaos, and they're still sleeping, Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. Weren't beasts cultivating when they slept? The Phoenix clan would be in irreparable state by the time they woke up, would it? Miss, unless there's a miracle. I'm afraid they won't be able to wake up, Feng Miao said very sadly. The result of waking up was only death, so they could only sleep all the time. It was because of this that her aunt took a fancy to this point that she was so unrestrained. Why? Long Ruoxue asked in confusion. Our Phoenix clan is unable to leave this realm, and the price of not being able to break through is death, Feng Miao explained. In fact, many members of the Phoenix clan could already advance to level 9 transcendent divine beasts, but they all chose to delay their advancement. Every day that could be delayed was a day. Because once they advanced to level 9 transcendent divine beasts, it meant that they were not far from death. Master, this realm's Phoenix clan is even more miserable than ours, Feng Zhan said. Back then, they were in the Ling Feng continent. Because they had a boundary as a cover, the heaven and earth rules could not sense their ranks at all. But the Phoenix clan's encampment on the vast heaven continent should not have any enchantment. Otherwise, it was also impossible for them to casually walk on the vast heaven continent. And the price of their freedom not being restricted was to pay with their lives. In fact, there was a way to solve this problem, because they only needed to recognize a master. However, proud existences like the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan who stood at the apex of beasts would never casually recognize a master. Therefore, they could only choose to sleep. And Long Ruoxue nodded. If one couldn't break through the limit, then death was also imminent. Schwer, someone's here. At this moment, the freak suddenly called out. Long Ruoxue nodded slightly and stopped talking. Miss Long. Yu Tian strode into the cell. When he saw Long Ruoxue, he quickly greeted her. After that, he looked at Long Ruoxue and the others with a headache and sighed in his heart. Sigh. These people were really too troublesome. First it was the Long clan, and now it was the Phoenix clan. The Long clan was still all right. After all, it didn't have much to do with them, but the Phoenix clan wasn't easy to deal with. He was really worried. I'm going to make things difficult for Butler Yu again. Long Ruoxue chuckled. Hee. Looking at the depressed expression on Yu Tian's face, she could guess what he was thinking. Miss Long, this matter is a little difficult to handle. Yu Tian didn't beat around the bush and spoke truthfully. The Phoenix clan and Dragon clan were famous for their unity, and the injured person had an extraordinary status in the Phoenix clan. So, even if he wanted to help Long Ruoxue and the others, those old geezers probably wouldn't agree. After all, the Phoenix clan was too formidable. What's so difficult about it? Didn't I also offend the Lan family? Long Ruoxue said disapprovingly. That's different. The Hu family and Lan family don't have a deep relationship. The Lan family head wouldn't care at all. But the Phoenix clan is different. The members of the Phoenix clan are very united. If they know that their own clansmen are injured, they probably won't let the matter rest. Yu Tian explained. Even though the Phoenix clan were beasts, their status among the beast clans was like those 3 great superclans in the vast heaven continent. Their status was transcendent, and their strength was formidable. Hence, even the 3 great superclans were not too willing to provoke the Dragon and Phoenix clans. Their Shadow League was the same. Bullshitted the Phoenix clan is very united, but that was in the past. Feng Miao exploded when she heard Yu Tian's words. Yu Tian was bewildered. He didn't know how his words had offended this woman. Why did she have such a big reaction? TM sure butler you doesn't know. She's also from the Phoenix clan. Long Ruashue smiled as she introduced Yu Tian. He seemed to be in a hurry and probably didn't know the exact situation. Ah, what a coincidence. Yu Tian said with sudden realization. Since she was also from the Phoenix clan, then it should be considered an internal conflict between their clans. It seemed that they didn't need outsiders to interfere. Butler Yu, can you release my subordinates first? Long Ruashue asked politely. It was polite to ask, but if she didn't agree, she would have to use force. Yes, of course, Yu Tian hurriedly said. He didn't want to care about the matters of the Phoenix clan. He was thinking that since all of you are from the Phoenix clan, then you should settle this matter privately. After he finished speaking, Yu Tian took out the key that he had prepared earlier. He opened the cell door and let out the two people locked inside. Thank you, Butler Yu, Long Ruashue said. Then, she gave Feng Zhan a look and pulled the freak away. Miss Long, please wait. Yu Tian quickly called out to Long Ruashue, seeing that she was about to leave. Chapter 716. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. 2. Butler Yu, is there anything else? Long Ruashue frowned and asked in confusion. That Feng Xian is still poisoned, Yu Tian reminded. Although he did not want to meddle in the Phoenix clan's affairs, Feng Xian was poisoned in Shadow City after all, so he could not stay out of it. Oh, where are they now? Long Ruashue asked with a smile. At the Shadow League encampment, Yu Tian replied honestly. However, for some reason, after he finished speaking, he felt a chill run down his spine. Oh, this young lady Lung's smile made him feel very pressured. Butler Yu, if you have something to do, go ahead. We're going to the Shadow League camp to see the patient. After Long Ruashue finished speaking, the four of them and the beast left the prison cell without looking back. Nothing will happen, right? Seeing the backs of Long Ruashue and the others, Yu Tian, who was standing at his original spot, couldn't help but mutter to himself. Woo! Why was his heart so uneasy? After Long Ruashue and the others left the prison, they slipped towards the Shadow League's camp. Master, we can't give the antidote to that damn woman so easily. We have to earn some money. I heard that the Phoenix clan is very rich. Feng Zhan suggested as they walked. Who said I sent her the antidote? Long Ruashue raised her eyebrows and asked, if you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Calmly. Could it be that Master wants Fiery to bite her again? Feng Zhan guessed. This idea was good. He liked it. Pa. Long Ruashue slapped Feng Zhan's head and said righteously, am I that kind of person? I just wanted to see if that woman is dead. Master is the kindest. She definitely won't watch that woman die in pain. Heh. If she hasn't died yet, then let's euthanize her to prevent her from suffering. Feng Zhan suggested. That's a good idea, but I've never eaten roasted phoenix meat before. I wonder if the meat is thick? Long Ruashue frowned and thought seriously. Schwer, I heard that the phoenix meat is extremely delicious. The demon laughed. Master, let's have some roast phoenix meat. Feng Zhan said with an expectant look on his face. His saliva was about to drool at the mention of delicious food. Feng Zhan, is that your kind? Long Ruashue said somewhat speechlessly. So what? Actually, in my eyes, they're only large-sized turkeys. Moreover, many carnivores will eat their own kind. We beastmen don't care about that. Feng Zhan spoke indifferently. So long as it wasn't him who was eating, then who would he care about eating? Feng Miao, who had remained silent at the side, broke out in a cold sweat after hearing their conversation. She thought to herself, these people are really too evil. Fortunately, I've long abandoned the darkness and turned to the light. Otherwise, wouldn't I become food in their mouths? The few of them chatted as they walked. Soon, they arrived at a very tall courtyard. Looking at the two-word Shadow League on the plaque outside the courtyard, Long Ruoshua signaled Feng Zhan to knock on the door. Dong, dong. Feng Zhan knocked loudly a few times. Not long after, a guard came to open the door. Who are you looking for? The guard asked curiously. We are looking for Feng Xian. We heard that her injuries are not light, so we specially came to take a look, Long Ruoshua said bluntly. You're from the Phoenix clan as well? The guard was confused. The Shadow League hadn't received any news that other members of the Phoenix clan were here? We are not. My beast bit Feng Xian. As the owner, I naturally have to come and ask. Long Ruoxia's beautiful face was filled with a wicked smile. Wait a moment. After hearing Long Ruoxia's words, the guard turned around to report. Not long after, he opened the door and invited them in. The guard brought Long Ruoxia and the others into the living room. At this moment, there were 3 inconspicuous old men sitting in the living room. When the 3 old men saw them, they didn't even lift their eyelids, nor did they invite them to sit down. When Long Ruoxia and the rest saw that no one called out to them, they did not stand on ceremony and found a chair to sit on. Then, they took out tea and snacks from their bracelets. The 4 of them and the beast began to eat as if there was no one else around. Originally, Feng Miao was still a little nervous when she saw the 3 of them and the beast, but after being infected by them, she started to gorge herself. Miss, this snack is really too delicious. Feng Miao stuffed her mouth without any care for her image and said with a little unclear mouth, Of course. Don't you know who did it? Feng Zhan said proudly. Miss, please order more dishes. It's almost noon. I'm hungry. Feng Miao looked at Long Ruoxia pitifully and pleaded. Okay, you guys bring that small table over. Let's have lunch, Long Ruoxia instructed. All right. Feng Zhan and Feng Miao moved at the same time, each moving a small table and piecing them together. Meanwhile, Long Ruoxia took out plates of food from her bracelet and placed them on the table. The aroma of the food immediately spread far and wide. After the food was taken out, Long Ruoxia's group of 4 and 1 beast began to gorge themselves. Their actions had angered the 3 old men sitting in the hall to the point of almost spitting blood. Seeing the 4 people and 1 beast eating happily not far away, they were envious and angry at the same time. Woo! Originally, they had assumed their stance to give Long Ruoxia and the others a show of strength, but who knew that they didn't take them seriously at all and instead treated this place as their own dining hall. This was too much. Cuckoo! At this moment, the stomach of the old man sitting in the middle actually let out a disappointing cry. Instantly, the old man's face turned red with embarrassment and was extremely embarrassed. He wished that there was a hole in the ground for him to crawl into. The hungry voices seemed to be contagious, and the stomachs of the other 2 old men started to protest. However, the skin of the other 2 old men was obviously thicker, because their faces were not red, and their hearts did not skip a beat as they sat calmly on the chairs. Actually, no one knew who was hungry, but the 2 of them did not feel good either. Moreover, the gluttonous worms in their bodies had been lured out by the table of food that could only be hoped for but could not be obtained. Right now, it could be said that they were riding a tiger and couldn't get off. They wanted to leave, but they couldn't bring themselves to do so. However, if they didn't leave, they would have to starve again. Sob. They asked for it. At this moment, the 3 of them were filled with tears of regret. Chapter 717. A Woman's Heart is a Deep Ocean of Secrets. 3. About an hour later, Long Ruoxia and the others finally finished their meal. Stealing a glance at the 3 old men sitting in the hall, Long Ruoxia couldn't help but exclaim, Oh, Xianzun indeed lives up to his name. His willpower isn't something an ordinary person can compare to. Master, we've already finished our meal, yet no one in the Shadow League is paying attention to us. Why don't we head back first? Otherwise, if we continue waiting like this, I'm afraid we'll have to eat dinner here as well. Feng Zhan spoke with displeasure. It doesn't matter. It's not a problem for us to eat our food for a few decades. I just don't know if Fengxian can wait any longer. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Oh, that's true, hee. Feng Zhan lightly glanced at the three old men whose expressions were very unsightly, and agreed with a mischievous smile. However, he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. They'll starve all of you to death, damn old geezers. You actually want to take them down a notch. If you're not hungry, who are you going to starve? As for the three old men in the hall, when they heard their conversation, they could not remain calm anymore. Boo-hoo. It seemed like they had been taken down a notch. If they really ate here for decades, they would have starved to death long ago. Oh, Miss Long, right? An old man cleared his throat and asked lightly. And Lung Ruoxue nodded and didn't say anything else. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm, thanks. Miss Long, since you're here, I won't beat around the bush anymore. Please take out the antidote. RLL plead for leniency on your behalf to the Phoenix clan. The old man continued. However, his stomach started growling again. This old man must have misunderstood. I am not here to give Fengxian the antidote. Fengxian bullied my subordinates. I am here to get back at them. Lung Ruoxue smiled wickedly. What? Miss Long, did we hear wrongly? Your subordinates are not injured at all. You want to get back at them? The three old men stared with their eyes wide open, their faces full of disbelief. Were they hallucinating? The one who was injured was Fengxian. Not only was she poisoned, her injuries were not light either, and Feng Yin was also badly beaten up. They're unharmed because the other party isn't strong enough. So, this doesn't mean that the other party didn't bully my subordinates. Oh, this should be called an unsuccessful attempt at bullying, and my subordinates are purely defending themselves. So, as their boss, I must get justice for my subordinates. Lung Ruoxue calmly said, and a gorgeous smile hung on her beautiful face. When the three old men heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they all stared at her as if she was a monster. Moreover, their slightly turbid gazes were constantly sizing her up. Even though they had carefully observed Lung Ruoxue and the others when they entered earlier, they were even more careful this time. Oh, these four people looked like dragons and phoenixes amongst men, but the strength of three of them wasn't that high. 3 mystic kings, 1 mystic venerable, and a little red snake whose level couldn't be determined. Even if they had Dumin backing them up, they shouldn't be so arrogant. The three of them were confused. Miss Long, they're the Phoenix clan. After a long while, an old man finally spoke up to remind her. Actually, if this matter could be resolved peacefully, that would be for the best. After all, they did not want to offend the Phoenix clan. But Lord Dumin, whose status was extraordinary in the vast heaven continent, they also wanted to befriend him. Therefore, if they could not offend either side, that would be the most perfect. I know. The Phoenix clan are only beasts. If they're happy, they'll sign the contract. If they're unhappy, they'll roast it, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. And the three old men's foreheads were filled with black lines. They thought to themselves, as expected, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. Could it be because they haven't traveled the continent for a long time? Why are the young people nowadays so arrogant? However, they were more curious about what Miss Long was relying on. Could it be that she was related to the Long clan? As the saying goes, you can't have both the fish and the bear palm. So, you guys better think this through carefully. Don't take the wrong side. Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly. This time, she would not allow these old foxes to benefit from both sides. The three old men were depressed. Were they being threatened? They didn't expect that they would be threatened by a puny King Xian one day. However, even if they were angry, with Dumin backing Miss Long, they couldn't do anything to this little girl. Boo-hoo. At this moment, they felt that they were too cowardly. However, who asked the other party to have the esteemed Dumin by his side? Sigh. In this world, anyone could be provoked, but they absolutely could not provoke an alchemist. The three old men were extremely conflicted in their hearts. They constantly weighed the importance of both sides to them and did not say anything for a long time. Lung Ruoxue and the rest naturally would not wait foolishly in the living room. While the three old men were frowning in thought, they quietly left the living room and went straight to Feng Xian and Feng Yan's residence. In the room, Feng Xian lay on the bed with a pained expression, while Feng Yan sat by the bed and waited, holding her hand tightly. As for the alchemist oldly sent by Shadow League, he turned his head to the other side with a helpless expression, his heart constantly twitching. Sigh. He really did not know why those old men had sent him here. Without the snake poison, he could not refine the antidote. Could it be that they had sent him here to admire these Timushi people? Brother Yin, you must take revenge for me. The pale and weak Feng Xian said with hatred. Yes, don't worry, little sister Xian. I'll definitely take revenge for you. I've already sent someone to send a letter, and I believe it won't be long before the clansmen of the clan will rush over. Feng Yin hurriedly consoled. Brother Yin, I want Feng Miao to die. Feng Xian no longer concealed her feelings for Feng Miao. She said directly. If it was in the past, she might have put on an act in front of her clansmen, putting on a show of sisterly affection, but after she was bitten and tortured by that little red snake, the hatred in her heart could no longer be hidden. All right, they'll help you once you've recovered, Feng Yin consoled. Suddenly, with a loud bang, their door was kicked open. Both of them looked up at the door at the same time. Feng Miao, you bitch, you dare to appear in front of me. Feng Xian forced herself to sit up. She shouted fiercely. All of her hatred erupted at once. Chapter 718. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. 4. Little sister Xian, don't be agitated. Feng Yin hurriedly reminded, and he looked at the uninvited Feng Miao with a hostile gaze. His will was extremely firm as he said, don't waste your efforts, I want change my men. What's going on? Long Ruoxue and the devil looked at each other. A huge question mark appeared in their hearts. Oh, from what he said, could it be Jao? Hey, I say, you cheap man, don't think too highly of yourself, okay? Little Miao Miao isn't here to change your mind. Feng Zhan couldn't stand it anymore. How dare she bully his people? She was really courting death. Who are you talking about? You're merely a second-rank super divine beast. You really don't know the meaning of death. Feng Yan was instantly infuriated when he heard Feng Zhan, and he roared loudly. In the clan, he was a beast that was respected by his peers, yet a tiny second-rank super divine beast actually dared to humiliate him in front of him. Had really lived long enough? Even if I'm a level 2 super divine beast, I can still beat you up like a pig's head. Aren't you just a level 7? What's so great about that? My master's food rank is even higher than yours. Feng Zhan said with a face full of disdain. Hearing Feng Zhan's words, Long Ruoxue and the others couldn't help but laugh. Where's your master? I want to kill him. Feng Yin roared with rage from embarrassment when he heard this laughter. Had lived for so many years and had always been a proud son of the heavens. When had he ever suffered such a humiliation? You want to kill my master? You want to kill me? Two voices rang out at the same time. Feng Zhan looked at Feng Yin as if he had heard a fantasy story, while Long Ruoxue was a little speechless as she said, Woo, did she get shot again? This guy couldn't win against Feng Zhan, so why did he start with her? Although she was here to get back at him for the beast, what right did a smelly bird have to target her? You're his master? Feng Yin was stunned, and he looked at Long Ruoxue with a stunned expression. How could there be such a beautiful human like Feng Xian, who was called the #1 beauty in the Phoenix clan? Compared to this woman before him, even a phoenix had become a chicken. It's real. Long Ruoxue nodded her head as her beautiful eyes sized up the pretty boy in front of her. Oh, this fire phoenix's skin is tender, and it's strong. It looks quite delicious. Moreover, Since he's about to kill her, then there's no need for her to be polite. Brother Yin, kill this woman for me? Feng Xian, who was sitting on the bed, saw her man staring straight at another woman and suddenly roared with jealousy. However, what made her even angrier was that this woman was even more beautiful than her. Sigh. Long Ruoxue looked at the demon with slight grievance. Boo-hoo! Someone wanted to kill her again. Why was she so easy to kill? However, she had always thought that jealousy was human specialty, but now it seemed that the world of beastmen wasn't peaceful either. However, wasn't the person this woman was jealous of Feng Miao? Why did it turn to her now? She really couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she thought. Oh, no wonder people always said that a woman's heart was like a needle in the ocean. Don't be afraid. With me around, no one will be able to kill you. The demon pulled Schwerer into his arms to comfort her. At the same time, his cold, bright eyes swept across Feng Xian in an unfriendly manner. Humph. Two little birds actually wanted to kill her woman. These two birds had touched his soft spot. Therefore, his heart was filled with killing intent. In. Lung Ruoxue nodded. Hee. The feeling of having a man to protect her was indeed different. She was so happy in her heart. In reality, no matter how strong a woman was, she still needed a man to protect her. Oomph. An adulterous pair. On the bed, Feng Xian saw the two of them flirting with each other. Her jealousy intensified. She shouted again, Humph. This is really infuriating. Not only is this woman prettier than her, even her man is better than the man she had fought so hard to get. This is really infuriating. At this moment, she had already forgotten that she was not human. Adulterous pair? Us? Lung Ruoxue looked suspiciously at the demon. It looks like they're talking about us. The demon shrugged his shoulders innocently and said helplessly, Boo. He and Schwer were engaged. How did they become an adulterous couple in the mouth of that ugly woman? Haha. At this moment, Feng Zhanzai couldn't help but laugh wildly as well. He truly admired this woman's way of thinking. He was clearly the adulterous couple, yet she actually threw dirty water on his master. Thus, he could already foresee the outcome of this woman. What are you laughing at? You and Feng Miao are also an adulterous pair. Feng Xian said angrily. Feng Zhan really couldn't laugh after hearing this. Boo-hoo, he felt wrong too. He and Feng Miao were obviously very pure colleagues, but when it came to that woman's mouth, it was sigh. Feng Xian, how shameless can you be? You and him are the adulterous pair, but now you are shamelessly accusing others. Humph. How can there be a clan member like you in the Phoenix clan? I really feel ashamed for the Phoenix clan. Feng Miao pointed at Feng Xian and Feng Yin. She could not bear it any longer and scolded. Humph. Feng Miao, even though Feng Yin was once your fiancé, he did not like you at all. He loved me. So, no matter what you do, it is useless. He will never change his mind. Just give up on that thought. Furthermore, you actually colluded with outsiders to harm your clansmen. If your clansmen find out about this, they will not let you off. Feng Xian looked at Feng Miao provocatively, saying with a bit of pride, Aren't you afraid we'll kill the birds to silence them? Lung Ruoxue said lightly. She really didn't expect these three people to have such a complicated relationship. Sigh. Poor Feng Miao. We are the Phoenix clan. You will not dare to kill us. Feng Xian said confidently. Is that so? But you're all going to kill me. Do you think I'll leave behind a hidden danger for myself? Lung Ruoxue lightly smiled. Then, with a thought, she summoned her food from her ring. As soon as the food appeared, the small room naturally could not contain them. Therefore, they all squeezed together. Suddenly, a few loud cracking sounds could be heard. The house had already been torn apart, but there were no casualties in the room. Feng Xian and Feng Yin were both dumbfounded. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Chapter 719. Arrival of the Phoenix Clan. 1. Oldly, who hadn't said a word in the room, glanced around and saw that there was no room to hide from the wind. He sighed helplessly and then found a corner to sit down. He planned to continue watching the show. Based on his understanding of Long Ruashue and the others, the feud between them and the Phoenix Clan was probably settled. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. Miss, the huge black python looked at the collapsed house and said with slight uneasiness, "Woo." It was said that this was the Shadow League. Would they compensate for destroying the Shadow League's room? They did not have money. Is okay. It's just that the quality of this room is too poor, Long Ruashua said without blushing. She directly attributed the collapse of the room to the quality of the house. Yes. You really can't blame us. The black python nodded repeatedly. Woo. Mrs. really too understanding. You, Feng Xian, who only came back to her senses after a long time, saw that there was no cover left. She was furious. What happened to us? Lung Ruashua looked at Feng Xian, who was sitting on the bed with a smile that was not a smile. She asked, This room had collapsed quite well. Not a single brick had fallen in. However, the furniture in the room had been destroyed by the pythons. The only thing that was intact was the bed that Feng Xian was sitting on. Shadow Alliance will not let you off. Feng Xian gritted her teeth. Her eyes were burning with flames. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to know if the Shadow League will let us go. Lung Ruashue pretended to ponder. Big Blackie, these two birds will be your snacks. Lung Ruashue said to the rest of the pythons again. She really did not expect that this big black python had actually advanced to the next level not long after it had cultivated in the space. Not counting Feng Miao, now she was also a level 8 super divine beast. And the effect of this big black python's advancement was that it greatly stimulated the cultivation of other beasts. Thank you, miss, for your reward, the black python said happily. At the same time, its dark eyes stared at the so-called snacks in front of it. The other pythons surrounded Feng Xian and Feng Yin in unison. What are you doing? Stay away from me. Feng Xian could not bear it any longer and shouted. She hated snakes the most. If she had seen these snakes before she was poisoned, she would have immediately released the Nan Lingli fire to burn them to ashes. But now, she was weak all over. How could she still have the ability to release the Phoenix Clan's flames? Young mistress said that you two birds are our snacks, the Akubla python said kindly. Hee. Young mistress was so good to them. After eating these two birds, it would definitely advance to the next level. As for the consequences of eating the members of the Phoenix Clan, they didn't care. If it was in the past, they might not have had the guts to do so. But now, with young mistress backing them up, there was nothing to be afraid of. How dare you? I am from the Phoenix Clan, Feng Xian said with a trembling voice. Woo! Why were these snakes not afraid of her suppression? How could this be? Brother Yin, save me. Seeing that, Wind Fairy hurriedly cried for help. The water far away couldn't quench the fire near. Now, only Brother Yin could save her. Unfortunately, what she did not expect was that Feng Yin could not do anything at the moment. He was already surrounded by a few giant pythons, so how could he care about Feng Xian? Feng Yin looked at the impenetrable wall that surrounded him, and he felt a headache and depression. Moreover, he couldn't figure out why these pythons weren't afraid of his pressure. He was a level 7 divine beast. Not only was his bloodline above these pythons, his strength was also stronger than theirs. But he didn't expect that not only did these pythons not take his pressure seriously, they even looked at him with ridicule in their eyes. In fact, those pythons were indeed looking down on them very much. Moreover, all the pythons simultaneously felt uneasy in their hearts. Humph! A level 7 super divine beast actually dared to show off in front of them. Did it really think that its pressure was invincible? One had to know that they had undergone demonic training. Therefore, they could withstand the pressure of a level 9 super divine beast for a while. Dahe, hurry up and do it. After eating the snacks, we can go back and prepare dinner. Lung Ruoxue saw that they were staring at each other and couldn't help but urge them. Yes, miss. The black python flashed in front of the snake brothers, and then all the pythons collectively executed the same move, divine snake tail swing. In an instant, thick snake tails of various colors danced in midair, and along with the snake tails, 2 red rays of light floated past. Miss, what are they doing? Feng Miao asked in confusion when she saw the python's actions. They are exercising for food. Before making roasted chicken, they need to be touched. Lung Ruoxue looked at the red light floating in the air and explained with a smile. Oh. Feng Miao understood and looked at her cousin and ex-fiancé with a hint of sympathy. For some reason, knowing that they were about to become food, not only did she not feel worried at all, she even felt a hint of joy. Half an hour later, the pythons felt that they should be done with their exercise, so they threw the 2 red shadows down from the sky. Pa! 2 loud sounds were heard, and 2 large red birds landed on the ground. Just you wait. You're dead for sure. Feng Yin stuttered as he spat out the filth on the ground. Woo! It was too much. Even if they possessed wings, they were unable to endure being tossed around like balls by a few beasts with inferior bloodlines. This was an extraordinary humiliation to the proud Phoenix clan, so he would absolutely not let these damn snakes off. Big brother, we're being threatened by a bird. The Akubla python yelled. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have a chance anymore. The black python said disapprovingly. Oh, these 2 birds' stamina was really too poor. After just a few moves, they had already been tormented to the point of recovering their beast bodies. With such a small physique, they actually had the delusion of not letting them go. It was truly laughable. Brothers, quickly eat your snacks. Black Python said again. Yes, yes. The pythons nodded excitedly. Then, they swarmed forward and pounced on the 2 giant birds that had been tormented to the point that they could not resist at all. For a moment, the fiery red feathers abandoned their owner and danced in the air. Chapter 720. Arrival of the Phoenix Clan. 2. It was really too violent. These snakes ate birds without spitting out their bones. Oldly, who was hiding in a corner and watching, broke out in cold sweat. If he didn't know that Long Ruoxue and the others wouldn't kill him to silence him, he would have probably fainted from fright. However, after seeing this scene, he was even more determined to get along well with these people. At the same time, the 3 old men in the hall who were deep in thought also received the report. However, when they rushed to the courtyard where Feng Xian and Feng Yin were staying, they only saw a collapsed room and a few fiery red feathers floating in the air. Lung Ruoxue and the others were sitting calmly at the side, and there was a group of pythons on the ground that seemed to be regulating their breathing. After seeing all of this, the 3 old men's hearts couldn't help but thump. A bad premonition surged in their hearts. Where are Feng Xian and Feng Yin? An old man could not help but ask. Eat it. Lung Ruoxue, who was leaning comfortably in the embrace of the demon, lightly spat out 2 words before she stopped talking. What? Who ate it? Asked the old man in disbelief. My beasts. Can't you see that they're regulating their breathing? They might even advance in a moment. Lung Ruoxue said with satisfaction. Oh. The Phoenix clan's bird meat was indeed extraordinary. Many pythons showed signs of advancing. You really ate it? That old man still didn't believe it and confirmed. It's true. If you don't believe me, ask Old Li. Lung Ruoxue pointed at Old Li in the comber. Yes. Old Li smiled bitterly and nodded. He had indeed seen it with his own eyes. Not only that, but these snakes were also very humble. They could eat more meat if they had a chance to advance. Sigh. He really did not know how other beasts were trained. It's over. It's over. The old man stomped his feet anxiously, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. Sigh. The princess of the Phoenix clan had died in Shadow City. The Phoenix clan wouldn't let it go, much less Long Ruashue and the others. The Shadow League had also been implicated by this girl. These people really had it coming. Little girl, you've implicated us. Another old man spoke and looked at Long Ruashue with a bitter face. Why would I implicate you guys? Those two birds were eaten by my beast. It has nothing to do with you guys. Long Ruashue smiled and played dumb. That Fengxian is the princess of the Phoenix clan. Since she died in Shadow City, that old hag from the Phoenix clan will naturally hate us as well. So, tell me, did you implicate us? The old man said. His shrewd eyes continued to size up Long Ruashue, and he couldn't help but feel uneasy in his heart. This girl is really too bold. She even dared to provoke the Phoenix clan. He was getting more and more curious. What exactly did this young girl rely on? The princess of the Phoenix clan? Old man, as far as I know, the current clan leader of the Phoenix clan is just a substitute. So, Fengxian can't be considered a princess, right? My subordinate is the real princess of the Phoenix clan. Don't pick up the sesame seeds and throw the watermelon. That would really be a joke. Long Ruashue said indifferently. It was both a reminder and a warning. The old man looked at Long Ruashue, then turned his gaze to Feng Miao and examined her carefully. Little girl, no matter what, you still dragged us into this. After a while, the old man, who had finished sizing her up, spoke again. He really hadn't expected Feng Miao to be the daughter of the Phoenix clan's clan leader, which surprised him. If you insist on saying that, there's nothing I can do. However, if you want to protect yourselves, when the people from the Phoenix clan come to find you, you can also hand us over. Long Ruashue suggested disapprovingly. The old man was a little depressed. He didn't expect Long Ruashue to be so straightforward. Actually, he didn't mean it that way at all. The reason why he said this was because he hoped this girl could give him some assurance. However, who knew that she wouldn't fall for it at all? Sigh. Didn't they say that the older the wiser? Why did they all transfer over in front of this little girl? Think carefully. After Long Ruashue finished speaking, she ignored the three old men and closed her eyes. Not long after, the heaven-earth law that advanced finally descended. More than half of the giant pythons had successfully advanced. Even those that did not advance, their profound strength had also increased quite a bit. It would not be long before they advanced. After the pythons advanced, Long Ruashue and the rest led them out of the Shadow League's camp and back to the inn. In the guest room, all the pythons obediently lay on the table. Long Ruashue also removed everyone from the bracelet. Young miss, what should we do now? As soon as they came out, Fengde couldn't help but ask. They were sweating in the space just now. They were afraid that those old fellows from the Shadow League would lock young miss and the others up. Nothing. Long Ruashue leaned against the demon and said calmly, if you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Calm, thanks. Girl, you're really bold. You even dare to kill the Phoenix clan. The little old man chuckled. Sigh. He knew that he wouldn't be bored by this git. Sighed. Look, even the powerful Phoenix clan had been provoked. Grandpa do. They wanted to kill me first. I was just defending myself. Long Ruashue said innocently, her face full of grievance. Yes, that's right. The little old man quickly agreed. Miss, I'm sorry. It's all because of me. Feng Miao said with a face full of guilt. Sigh. Initially, she was in a hurry to leave Shadow City because she was afraid of meeting Fengxian. But she did not think that she could not escape and even cause trouble for Mississippi. You don't need to blame yourself anymore. I won't watch my beast man get bullied. Long Ruashue comforted. Her beasts were not to be bullied by anyone. Not even the Dragon and Phoenix clans. Miss, let's leave Shadow City quickly. The vast Heaven continent is so big. It's also impossible for the Phoenix clan to find us for a while. Feng Miao thought for a moment and suggested. Although Miss was very formidable, the Phoenix clan had many level 9 super divine beasts. Therefore, she was very afraid that Miss and the rest would get injured. Feng Miao, it's not my nature to run away. Let's not go anywhere and just wait here for the Phoenix clan to arrive. Lung Ruoxue said very seriously. If she was not strong enough, she naturally would not fight them head-on. However, she had many methods now. Even if the Phoenix clan had many level 9 super divine beasts, she was not afraid. Chapter 721. Arrival of the Phoenix Clan. 3. Little Meow Meow. You have to have confidence in Master, Feng Zhan said with displeasure. Oh, what was so great about the Phoenix Clan? He also had the entire Phoenix Clan behind him. Although his clansmen might not be comparable to those Phoenix Clan in the vast Heaven continent in terms of strength, if they really fought, he believed that the Phoenix Clan in the vast Heaven continent would definitely not be their match. As for why he was so confident, it was a secret. Feng Miao nodded skeptically, then fell silent. Shuer, what do you plan to do with these people from the Shadow League? Wu asked curiously. I don't know, but if they can make the right choice, then we will have a chance to work together in the future. Otherwise, we will have to part ways. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and sighed. If only she knew who the owner of the Shadow League was. If that's the case, then even if the Shadow League annoyed her, she wouldn't have to worry too much. After all, knowing one's enemy is the key to victory. Shuer, let's make preparations earlier. I think the news of those 2 phoenixes dying will be sent back to the Phoenix clan very soon. Lung Qingtian said with a frown. The Phoenix clan should already know. Before each of us left the clan, we would leave behind a soul jade tablet. Right now, Feng Xian and Feng Yan's jade tablets are probably shattered. Feng Miao explained. That means they're almost here. Lung Ruoxue said excitedly. They will arrive at Shadow City in at most 3 days. Feng Miao nodded. Shuer, we only have 3 days to prepare. Lung Qingtian reminded. Grandfather, don't worry. We have space and plenty of time. We have 3 days to consider the Shadow League. Lung Ruoxue gloated. Feng De, go tell the shopkeeper that the Phoenix clan will arrive in 3 days. Tell them to make preparations. Lung Ruoxue turned around and instructed Feng De. Yeah, they'll be right there, Feng De said, and left the room to deliver the message. Miss, if you have a captive of the Phoenix clan, can you give him to me as a servant? Lin Yuan asked expectantly. Sure. The Phoenix clan in the vast Heaven continent is too disobedient. They can only be servants too. Lung Ruoxue nodded and said, as long as you want it, you will get a share. Lung Ruoxue added. Hee. Everyone was overjoyed when they heard that. 3 days passed quickly. Compared to Lung Ruoxue and the rest who were relaxed, the upper echelons of the Shadow League weren't calm at all. Especially when they found out that the Phoenix clan would arrive in 3 days, they exploded. Because of this matter, the Shadow League was divided into 3 opinions. One was with Yu Tian as the representative, agreeing to cooperate with Lung Ruoxue. These people placed more importance on the alchemists around Lung Ruoxue. After all, in their eyes, the Phoenix clan might be very powerful, but the members of the Phoenix clan didn't know how to refine medicinal pills. Therefore, Lung Ruoxue and the others were more beneficial to them. The second option was to cooperate with the Phoenix clan and hand Lung Ruoxue and the others over. In their eyes, Lung Ruoxue and the others couldn't be compared to the powerful Phoenix clan. The last one represented neutrality. In their opinion, neither side would help the other. This way, both sides would not be offended. However, they ignored Lung Ruoxue's thoughts. Would she be willing to let them remain neutral? The truth was, of course, not. After 3 days of urgent discussions, the Shadow League had been debating non-stop. As time passed, the Shadow League finally came to a consensus. They would wait and see. Because of their indecision, in the future, they would not be able to become Lung Ruoxue's true allies and could only exist awkwardly as partners. In the guest room, Lung Ruoxue chuckled and looked up at the sky. At this moment, the sky was fiery red. Of course, these weren't clouds of fire, but the Phoenix clan. The flames on their bodies dyed the sky red. Miss, we are surrounded. Feng Dao reminded her smilingly. There was no fear on his handsome face.
Yes.
Lung Ruoxue was still looking out the window, thinking that the Phoenix clan was obviously trying to intimidate them by making such a big fuss. Unfortunately, they were looking for the wrong person. The person who killed my daughter and son-in-law. Get the hell out here. At this time, in the air outside the guest shop, the acting patriarch of the Phoenix clan, Feng Yun, finally couldn't hold back and shouted out loud. Humph. She only had this one daughter. She was actually killed by someone. When she found out that the person who killed her daughter was a human and that she lived in the Shadow Pavilion, she immediately rushed over with her clansmen. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes lightly glanced at the beautiful middle-aged woman floating in the air. She completely ignored her and continued to comfortably lean against the freak's chest while eating her delicious food. It was as if she was watching a show as she watched the middle-aged woman prancing around by herself. Feng Miao, you traitor who betrayed your own people, come out and accept your death. After a while, Feng Yun saw that no one was paying attention to her, and the fire in her heart burned even more fiercely, and she continued shouting. However, Feng Miao was also eating the food in front of her very calmly, ignoring Feng Yun. In these 3 days, after knowing the misdetailed plan, her confidence multiplied. You bunch of cowards. What kind of ability do you have to hide in the Shadow Pavilion? If you have the guts, then get the hell out here. After a long time, Feng Yun, who still didn't receive any response, was so angry that she was about to vomit blood. Thus, she didn't care about her image and roared out loud. Humph. If it wasn't because she was worried that the Shadow Pavilion was the property of the Shadow City, she would have burned it down a long time ago. Even though she wasn't afraid of the Shadow Alliance now, she was still afraid of the mysterious master behind the Shadow Alliance. So, as long as the Shadow Alliance didn't protect the person who killed her daughter, she wouldn't fall out with the Shadow Alliance. That person is the acting clan leader of the Phoenix clan? Lung Ruoxue pretended to be stupid as she pointed at the middle-aged shrew outside the window and asked Feng Miao. Feng Miao nodded. She thought to herself, this old woman is really mad. She actually disregarded her image and cursed. Hee. If the other members of the Phoenix clan knew about this, it would be useless for her to pretend anymore. Miss, when are we going out? Feng Da asked eagerly. Chapter 722. Arrival of the Phoenix Clan. 4. Feng Da. We have to respect our elders. Let that old woman curse for a while. When she gets tired, we'll go out. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Sigh. This old woman is full of energy. No wonder she wasn't tired after scolding for so long. Feng Yun constantly cursed outside. Unfortunately, the people in the room did what they were supposed to do. No one bothered with her. After cursing for a long time, she was already so tired that she was gasping for breath. Miss, that old woman seems to be tired of scolding. Feng Da pricked up his ears and listened carefully. However, it had been quite a while since he heard any cursing. It's time for us to go out and show off, Lung Ruoxue calmly said with a smile that could topple cities. Miss, let's go, Feng Da said impatiently. He rode his beast and flew out of the window. After Feng Da's dragon carried its master out of the window, it immediately transformed into its largest form to avoid losing to those stinky birds. The others naturally followed the same method, while Lung Ruoxue, the freak, the strongest among them, was the last to fly out of the window. Feng Yun looked at Lung Ruoxue and the others who flew out of the inn, and her fiery red phoenix eyes immediately released a light of hatred. However, when she saw Feng De and the others riding the giant dragon, her pupils shrunk and her face was filled with disbelief. "Why do you have dragons?" Feng Yun angrily asked. How could these people have any connection with the dragon race? With her relationship with a certain dragon, even if she were beaten to death, she wouldn't believe that the dragon race would help someone who had a grudge against her for killing her daughter. "Not only do we have dragons, we also have phoenixes." Lung Ruoxue chuckled. "That's right, you damned old hag. You and the clansmen you brought here are the true trash." Feng Zhan roared with extreme rage. Humph. Had originally intended to spare their lives for the sake of all of them being members of the Phoenix clan. But Head changed his mind now. All of the Phoenix clansmen that had come today would die. You bastard child that came out of nowhere, who are you scolding?" When Feng Yun heard Feng Zhan actually call him an old woman, he immediately became even more angry. After all, women didn't like to hear such words, especially women of a certain age. So, when Feng Yun heard this, his reaction was extraordinarily great. "Damned old hag, you're the bastard. Your entire family are all bastards." Feng Zhan retorted without the slightest trace of politeness. Fuck. He, who possessed the noble bloodline of the Phoenix King, actually dared to call him a bastard. He was truly courting death. "You!" Feng Yun wanted to curse out loud, but was stopped by Long Ruoxue. "Patriarch Feng Dai, do you want to continue bickering or take revenge for your daughter?" Lung Ruoxue was a little speechless. She didn't want a battle that was waiting to happen to become a war of words. Moreover, she wanted to take this rare opportunity to test the strength of her beasts. "Humph. Of course I want to take revenge for my daughter. Miss Lung, as long as you hand over those snakes that ate my daughter, I will spare your life." Feng Yun stated her conditions. She had already investigated clearly. Her daughter and future son-in-law had been eaten by several pythons. "Leader Feng Dai, this is not possible. Feng Xian and Feng Yin were given to them by me. Moreover, they are my beasts. How could I hand them over?" Lung Ruoxue said calmly, not accepting Feng Yun's kindness at all. "Miss Lung, as long as you hand over those snakes to me, I promise I won't kill you," Feng Yun guaranteed. In truth, she didn't even think that way in her heart. She only wanted to coax Long Ruoxue to hand over those stronger snakes first, and then slowly deal with these weaker little beasts. "But I don't believe you. Besides, I don't think you can kill me," Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. "Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Offending our Phoenix clan won't do you any good," Feng Yun threatened. Chapter 723, Phoenix Forest 1. "Even if I don't offend him, I have no choice," Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Feng Yun was so angry by Lung Ruoxue that she couldn't speak. "Clan head Feng, you have to take care of yourself. You haven't become clan head yet," Lung Ruoxue kindly reminded. "Damn it, go. Kill all of them." Feng Yun was angered to the extreme and directly ordered. "Yes, Patriarch." All the phoenixes replied in unison as they stared intently at Long Ruoxue and the others. "Feng De, you guys don't need to watch the show anymore. Prepare to fight." Long Ruoxue indifferently looked at Feng Yun and ordered. "Nen." Feng De and the others hurriedly nodded. Hee. They had waited for this moment for a long time. Today, they could finally let loose. "My citizens, all of you have to perform well as well," Feng Zhan said to all his clansmen. Even though this generation's patriarch of the Phoenix clan before him was also a member of the Phoenix clan, he wasn't able to sense the imperial bloodline in her at all. So, Head determined that this old woman was only an ordinary phoenix. So, even if he really killed her, he wouldn't feel any pain in his heart. As for those phoenixes that assisted the wicked, they deserved even more death. They really were tired of living for daring to be arrogant in front of him. "Yes, King." All of the phoenixes said in unison. After that, their phoenix eyes stared at Feng Yun and the other phoenixes with extreme hostility. King? Why do they call you king? You're quite bold, actually daring to call yourself king. Hearing this title, Feng Yun immediately acted as if he had found something that could be used against Feng Zhan, and loudly said, "Idiot!" Feng Zhan couldn't be bothered to explain to her, and directly shot a glance at his clansmen. After that, all of the phoenixes very tacitly locked onto their opponents. Oh, one-on-one they definitely wouldn't be able to defeat Feng Yun and the other beasts, but they had too many phoenixes. Hee. 1 against 5 they still had some left. Chief, their numbers are greater than ours, a phoenix said in a low voice, feeling a bit uneasy. Miserable screams could be heard from the battlefield. Fengda and the others, who had yet to make a move, became even more excited. Brothers, let's attack as well. After Fengda said that, he took the lead and charged into the battle, taking advantage of the situation. Wu, why were the birds brought by this Phoenix clan's substitute clan head so lousy? They hadn't even made a move, yet they were about to be killed by Feng Zhan's subordinates and the Silver Wolves. This wouldn't do. Charge! Lin Yuan and the rest shouted loudly to boost their morale. Then, they rushed in as well. What are you all doing? No one is allowed to scratch anymore. Quickly get up and fight. Feng Yun, who was watching from the side, was so angry that his face was a bit dark. His pair of phoenix eyes glared fiercely at Long Ruoxue. Unfortunately, because it was too itchy, none of her trusted subordinates paid attention to her. Devil, let's go play with Feng Yun. Long Ruoxue suggested with a smile. Good. The freak spirit nodded, agreeing. He also felt that Feng Yun was too idle. Schwer, what about me? Long Ruoxue and the freak were just about to find trouble with Feng Yun when they were stopped by the pitiful empty. Boo-hoo. He also wanted to find a bird to play with, but those birds were all split up by Schwer's subordinates and beastmen, so he was fine. Lass, why don't we do it together? The little old man suggested. Actually, his hands were itching. Master, there's still us. The Mei and the other beastmen hurriedly said. At the same time, they were still grumbling in their hearts. Feng Yun had brought too few birds. There was not enough to share. Miss, there's still us. Suddenly, a familiar voice interrupted. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.